I was just talking to the one bodybuilder that came in, and he was saying how he doesn't take Anadrol. I'm like, bro, you're a fucking 300-pound man. How do you not take Anadrol? And he's like, no, I never ran a cycle in my entire life. I'm like, you're lying. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, okay, I believe you because...
Did he try it and have a bad experience with it?
Yep. He said, right away, nosebleeds. Right away. So he said, no go for me. And this was when he was young. So it was before the saturation period with everything. And me, I'm like, I love fucking Anadrol. But I won't take Trenbolone again. I love Trenbolone, but I won't take it again because of the side effects and what it did to me.
Yeah.
Like my psyche.
I think Tren fucks with your psyche more than anything else,
Without a doubt. But then he's over here, he's like, I fucking love it.
2 grams a week. Yeah.
Tren, any time that I've taken it, that's when I've had the most fucked up dreams. And honestly, you find yourself in it, even not
well, then
during
yours is
dreams
real.
And shit.
We thought yours was fake. It's real, man.
Yeah. Well, that
You're just not eating enough.
Yeah. I was taking shit and...
Dude, I get
probably eating 2,200 calories a day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Now he's got me at 4,400.
Why am I not growing?
Yeah. So it should be pretty interesting.
Tren fucks with acid reflux big time for me. Like, just, that's the worst part. I don't get anything else. I don't get the sweats, the dreams,
Really?
fucking nothing else. Yeah.
You're
And I'm
just a
talking like
constant
up to a
sweater.
gram. I know, stupid.
I did that one time.
Yeah,
I did 100 a day for 2 weeks, and it was like one of the worst experiences I've ever had.
Just
But it was
constantly
one of my best experiences.
Dude, you're like, where did all this
It's
shit
like
come
dating
from?
a psycho girl. You're like, man, this is great, but this is fucking horrible.
Exactly. Tren is a psycho girlfriend. That's a perfect analogy.
Oh, man. Everything good?
Is audio good?
I was going to say,
Oh.
how have you guys not started this? This all better be used.
Yeah.
Well, we were just
will.
shooting the shit to get the audio right.
Back in.
Try to not touch the base of the mic.
Does my beard sound like something when I do that?
Is it him? Can you hear mine? I'm doing this. I'm like, all right.
He's been the worst? Oh, me?
About to talk.
About what? Touching it or? Really? That's bullshit, Brandon. Get the fuck out of here.
It's a win for me.
I do cardio sometimes. It helps.
I got to start doing that. I've heard of it.
Because I'm trying to quit chewing, so I'll be ripping those puff bars. So, and
Is
it's
it-
like your
Brandon, is it
overall,
like my nose or my mouth?
and it's like your overall cardiovascular
just gotta talk
state
more
right
so I
now
don't
is
breathe.
just shit.
Well, he fucking puffs on those things all day.
It's
Nice.
I mean,
Yeah, nice. So easy.
I mean, ever since I tore my tricep and I got bad news from the blood work, I've been very, not very. In the beginning I was, but I made sure I kind of keep a check on myself now. Like the food was the biggest thing for me. Like I was eating red meat at least once a day, and it wasn't like a small meal of red meat. It was a large meal of red meat.
What's your thoughts on the vertical diet then?
So this is great. I think that me personally, like the way that this industry works is there is ways to make money the whole entire way around it.
Yeah.
And everybody has a similar concept. They all want to look better, function better.
Everybody just repackages the same principles into something different.
So the vertical diet.
Meat and rice.
Whenever it came out, I was like, this is my head. This is like the most basic, simple form of how to concentrate on your physical fitness as well as internal well-being.
Health, yeah.
Because I was like, my whole thing was digestion, absorption, elimination. If say my elimination goes wrong, like if I'm shitting my brains out, I'm like something went wrong in previous, so it was something I ate. If my elimination is constipated and I can't do anything, something's going wrong in the absorption and the digestion absorption.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because if my elimination is off. So I was like, that's where the chicken and rice came from. Because I was like, I'm just going to eat fucking chicken and rice for a fucking week straight and see how I feel. And then I felt great.
You feel great, yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to eat my fruits and veggies and chicken and rice. And it felt great. And then I was like, I'm going to add in red meat here and there. And then it just continued to compound. And then I was like, this is great. And then whenever you look at the vertical diet, I'm like, well, this is a very similar concept. It's not exact, but that concept that it was Stan who came up with it, right?
Yeah.
Efforting.
I'm like, bro, he was able to take, because my mind is not.
Stan's a genius, man.
Mine's so fucking scatterbrained.
Yeah.
That I could never hone in and actually build a program. So the fact that Stan came out with this, and it's such a simple idea, that he was able to elaborate on why you do this.
Right.
I'm like, bro, this is
I
fucking
think that's how where he
genius.
did a really good job with it, because he simplified it and made it something that the average person can do, and they feel so much better right away. And then in turn, you end up looking better because you're simplifying what you're taking in. It's a list of like 12 things.
That's what I mean. And like I can't remember, it was like Monster Mash or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the most
Fucking
genius thing to do
Yeah.
because you're putting fucking bone broth with rice, potatoes, and red meat or chicken or whatever you digest well.
I still
A
haven't
lot
gotten
of this
sick
shit
it.
is stuff that, like, by trial and error over time, we've just figured out. But like you said, we don't know the why behind it. We've just happened upon it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the best way to get my rear delts to grow, like earlier, and it's like, it just works for me. I don't know why. Or like, I eat steak and rice, and that's the best thing for me to grow. But like, guys like Stan come along and they examine that and say, this is why you should do it.
Because the thing in this industry is there are very smart, intelligent people like Stan, like John Meadows,
Yeah.
people that are doctors, people that have like a lot
Like
of
Chris
time.
Tuttle.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, dude.
Forgot mine.
But then all of a sudden, here you go. Then you have people like me that I'm like, I have a basic concept, but I fucking love lifting weights and experimentation.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
just fucking love it. So along the way through my trial and error, I'm going to find what works for me, and I'm not going to know the exact why. I'm just going to know that I feel good, I look good, my blood work looks half decent, or it looks good, or it looks bad. And I'm like, so I look really good, but my blood work was shit. So I was doing something along there that was wrong and inconsistent. You don't need to be a fucking doctor to figure that out. But when you get around John Meadows, or you get around fucking people that are highly educated, you're like, really
Makes
glad
sense.
I talked to you. It makes sense now.
But you stick with it long enough to actually feel the benefits. A lot of people won't give it long enough to actually see or feel it, and then they're like, on to the next one.
And that's why that's where bodybuilders that are intelligent, like Stan, John, and those type of people, they're able to be like, I also did these things. And then that's why we can agree, because they're like, yeah, you just have to do it long enough to figure it out. There's still that trial and error period.
Yeah.
But they're able to,
Yeah, let's do an intro. I was just thinking that maybe we should.
awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Like, you got Brandon's approval.
Which is the only one that
We're set,
matters,
dude.
dude.
We worked really fucking hard on that bar.
Do you want to keep him?
Yeah. All right, let's go. Are we good to do an intro? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Man Card Podcast, episode 4. We're here in, close to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with the hardworking motherfucker himself, Mr. Seth Feroce.
What's happening?
Just got a workout in. He's been gracious enough to let us come out to his facility, which is amazing, by the way. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited about this.
Absolutely, man. And we're going to just kind of cut it up on whatever we want to talk about. So,
Life,
Tut?
testosterone,
yep.
Yep.
toxic masculinity, a little bit of everything.
Well, that's, whenever...
Our favorite topic.
Yeah, no, it's a big topic right now, and we've been talking about just about life in general, and we were talking about like how the brain functions and why I like doing the things that I do. I wasn't always this person, I wasn't always this fucking bearded, muscular fucking. I like splitting wood and pussy, and I've always liked that, but I wasn't always the pussy part.
Splitting the
wood, yeah,
Pussy,
for sure.
Splitting pussy and eating wood. But I think that that's what I was saying earlier about the brain. Like, I find it fascinating why I like the things that I do and why people like the things that they do. And I grew up in a family that we didn't pass judgment on people. It was all about working hard. It was all about working hard for the things that you like in life, taking pride in it. And because if you take pride in your work, it's actually taking pride in like your integrity as a person, like who you are.
Yeah.
Whether you're fucking starting out 16 years old, just doing some shit labor for somebody, but if you're good at it, people, and you work your best at it, people are going to recognize that and want you to do more things for them. And so I grew up in that environment. My dad's a small business owner, but as I've gotten older, I in the internet, you're able to expand and see people and like why do they like the things that they do. I find that to be the most fascinating thing. But in today's society, as we all know, just there's a lot of soft people, and there's a lot of questions that I have about like, man, why all the judgment?
Right.
Why all the bullshit? Where's it coming from? How did we become so judgmental about things when I'm like, we got so much good.
Yeah. Well, it's like we were talking about off air earlier about there's an entire industry built around people just critiquing other people's work, right? Like these review videos, and it's
Sure.
like we have an entire subset of the population that exists just solely to talk shit about other people, and it's like only these days can that happen, right? And I think it's because of the internet and because we can see everybody out there, and so people take the easy route and just say, well, Seth's putting in a bunch of fucking work. Let me just talk shit about what he's doing because I can make money off of that.
And I think that's a scary place because that means that you get into that mindset, because I'm big on that, like why I think the way I do, and absorbing information is like eating food.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows right now, if you watch mainstream media, you're going to see some wild
You're getting
shit.
a fucking junk food diet.
I haven't watched mainstream media in so long. I did, and I'm like, oh my God, I think we're all going to die.
It's so wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that people need to understand that the information that they absorb is like food. And if you get around people that are super positive, super ambitious about anything, it could be about fucking anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you're absorbing is what you're going to do. Like whenever you're a single guy and you're trying to go out and meet a girl or something, you don't come see me. Like I'm not outgoing at the club. I'm not going to places where there's a bunch of females. So you're not going to come see me. You're going to go to the guy that is notorious for slaying ass. You're gonna be like, bro, you want to go out this weekend? He's like, fuck yeah, let's get you laid. So you're absorbing, you're getting yourself in that environment, and that's what you wanted to achieve. So I think that it's similar in the regard of everyday life for people watching YouTube videos, watching people on Instagram, because I even find myself doing it at times where I'm following someone on Instagram and they're in a rough spot, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of like feeding off of their bullshit.
I'm feeling their energy affect me.
Well, you said what you said earlier too about people who are judging you, and when you get in front of them, they're like, oh, he's a good fucking dude. So when you're this phone and fucking social media changes the perspective of everything, because it's giving them a voice that they don't fucking deserve and a judgment towards you.
And I think that it's I speak about it because I see that it's a prevalent conversation to have, but at the same time there is also a stupid amount of good. There is a ton of good on the internet because that's how I built my business. That's how I met you. Yep. That's how we meet all these great people and see all these things, is through the internet. So there is good, but it's like, man, I really hope that this young demographic of people that are early on learning about life and what the internet can provide, they understand that like you have to do the work in order for great things to happen.
Well, that's why it's important to do what we're doing right now. Just have conversations about it and put it out there, because you like, and especially as a dad, I mean, we're all three dads, right? Mm-hmm. We all have girls, and you also have a new son. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. But like, exciting. I think a lot about like what you just brought up in terms of like what you're exposed to, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, is going to shape you into the human you become, right? And it used to be watching mom and dad, or watching, the person down the street or whatever. Yep. Now it's, your community is fucking global, and now it's this asshole on YouTube that's shaping you into whoever you are. So as a parent, I worry about that a lot, man.
Is it not fucking crazy that that's how things are? It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because like you just said, like it used to just be like, why am I this way?
Yeah.
I'm my father.
Right.
Like,
it's pretty easy to just
fucking day.
Yeah, exactly.
You bring my dad in here, you're like, that's him, huh? Because we talk the same, we have the same excitement for life. Really hard to get my dad down. If my dad's in a fucking ignorant, terrible mood, like something really got him.
Right.
Because most of the time he's like, let's fucking go. I wake up, I have to provide for my family. I love my family. I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to work myself into the ground to provide opportunity for my 4 children. He is a hardworking motherfucker. That's how I coined it. That's where it came from, is that existence of him.
Yeah.
And my mom's the same way, but in her regard, as like, I grew up in a very traditional family. Dad went to work, owns a business. Mom takes care of the kids.
Yeah.
So all I saw was work. My dad left before I woke up and came home 8, 9 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
Memories I have of my dad growing up was he taught me how to count and numbers through playing cards. Because when my dad would get home at night, we'd already eaten dinner at 6 o'clock. My dad's at home at 8, 9 o'clock. He gets his dinner that's in the oven that my mom cooked on a plate, warmed up, brings it to the bar top in the living room, because he had a sick bar in his living room. He'd take it off. He'd get the cards and a Jack and Coke. And then he'd sit there with me or me and my siblings, and we'd play cards, like blackjack. We'd play blackjack or war, and he ate dinner. That's how I knew my dad.
That's awesome.
It was an hour that I had with him. That's all I fucking had. So, Like, but he just worked. So whenever in my life, all I know how to do is work. I do a really good job of being very similar to him in that regard of I can go to work and do what I do very well. And then the time that I spend with my kids, I make sure every minute counts because I don't have the whole day.
Yeah.
So growing up in that environment molded me into this. We didn't have the internet when we were teenagers. We didn't have phones that could record anything, take pictures. It was just us fucking off. So I think today you're right. I think that it's very simple. Like if my dad wasn't always around and I had a phone in front of me and I'm 16 years old, I'm going to watch people and
You're seeing everything except him.
Exactly. And I'm going to find people that maybe I shouldn't find.
Yeah, exactly. And at that age, you're looking for something to
Connect
imprint
with.
on. Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that ends up being pop culture or fucking social media or like whatever you can find that maybe for whatever reason you gravitate towards. But it could be, I mean, shit, man. Like I have a almost 4-year-old daughter, and I think about the fact that like if I'm not present and there for her, she's going to find that somewhere else. And it might be some asshole who's, representing everything I'm opposed to, but I'm too busy over here working, not paying enough attention to what she's doing. And as a parent, it's like, how the fuck do you balance that out these days?
And that's where it started off with a conversation of, that's why I'm fascinated with how people's minds work, like the human brain, because I'm like, why in the fuck would you gravitate towards that?
Yeah.
It's everything that I'm not, or everything that like I don't stand for. I'm like, kind of like, whoa, that's fucking wild. It's crazy on how that works and how some can have connections with certain things.
And
I find that so unique.
The smallest little thing early in your life.
I find that so unique when you see very strong parents, right? And their kids they grow up completely different than their parents. They're like, I don't know how they ended up like that, or they're doing things that their parents have no love for, and how that happened. Where along the line did they find that and kind of disconnect from their parents as their role models? Is it through social media? Is it through just a lack of time spent with them growing up? Like that's something that actually interests me a lot, especially now having a daughter.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to do everything I can to put on my values and my moral code onto her, to kind of lead and make sure that I'm the one that they're looking to, so they don't get lost along the way.
For sure.
I don't know where that disconnection is and where it goes.
Well, that rolls back to why I'm fascinated by it, because I'm in search of it, and like I'm not the most scientific person, but whenever I do find spare time, like I follow this dude who's he's a neuroscientist on Instagram, and I came across that. I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, that's pretty fascinating because he talks about the human brain. And then I'll watch YouTube videos about the same thing because I want to know why, but I don't know if I'm intelligent enough, or I shouldn't say that, educated enough to actually get to the end result. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's the whole nature versus nurture thing, really. So like,
that's a great topic. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about this right now.
Well, because like you can have parents who obviously they're the exact same parents and they have 2 kids and the kids turn out completely fucking different, right? Uh-huh. So that's the nature part, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just in your genes. Like you are compelled to be a certain way because of what your dad taught you, but also because you're very similar to him genetically, right? Like you could be a very different person and he could try to instill all those values in you, but for whatever reason you decide to rebel against that and be a total shithead.
Yeah.
And that's the the nature versus nurture thing. It's like, and all we can do as parents is just nurture as much as possible, give them the values, and then hope that they're going to take to it.
So I have 3 children now. I have a 13-year-old, a 6-year-old. She'll be 7 next in like 2 weeks. And then I have the newborn.
All different, right?
So Adeline is my oldest, and she's been with me since she's 2 years old. I was the stay-at-home bodybuilder dad. Like I was competing, she was eating what I ate, the whole 9 yards. And Emmy was not in that. So she didn't grow up in that same environment because I wasn't competing. And I've changed as a person, and they are very different. Adeline is an absolute fucking savage. Adeline will, if you fuck with anything of hers or anybody she cares about, she might cut a bitch, for sure. Emmy is just the sweetest thing in the fucking world. Emmy and Adeline's super intelligent. Emmy loves gymnastics, can do gymnastics better than anybody her age. I will pound for pound, you ain't beating that little bitch. But she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Takes her a few more times to learn the same
Right,
thing Adeline
right.
learned like in her sleep.
And that's the nature part.
So that's why I'm like, man, this is a crazy conversation, because if I didn't raise Emmy the same way, and my question is, since I'm so ingrained as a father for fucking 13 years, I don't know my adult life without one. If I was the same way with Adeline as I was with Emmy, would she be the same?
Right.
I don't know, but that's the conversation that I would love to know studies on, because if you did it multiple times with 10 kids, then there would be a solid, that's how it works. But I think it's almost, what's the way, how do you put, like, situational based?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I don't want to say it's all nature or all nurture.
No,
You have a boy now, so are you? I mean, what way are you taking that? Are you
Listen,
following what you did?
I have the most wonderful woman at home. This is going to be my second marriage, and Hannah is legitimately like a fucking angel. She's so nice. I needed this in my life. I'm not who I was when I was raising Adeline. I was a very hard, intense motherfucker, and I'm still intense, but I do it from a business perspective, not so much a physical anymore. Right. I have to become a prick with him. I cannot let him be raised to be a fucking pussy.
I said that shit
We
on
were
the
just
drive
talking
out
about
here.
that,
I
yeah.
was like, when I found out that I was having a kid, I completely switched from wanting to have a boy. I wanted a girl first, because I was like, I feel like I'd raise a little fuck for a son if I had him first. I know I would.
Bro.
I was like, so I need a girl to spoil the shit out of first, raise her as a bad, and then toss the kid, the boy in the mud, whatever. I feel like I'd raise a little fuck son first.
It's super difficult. It's super difficult. And you guys know this, but the way I was with Adeline, like, she was very similar to a boy growing up, because she just wanted to climb trees. When she was 3 years old, she was climbing everything in my fucking house.
Yeah.
4 years old, she's climbing a fucking 6-foot fence, walking the top. And I'm like, is this a talent or a danger? Maybe a little bit of both. But the nature versus nurture conversation is it goes back to why I'm so fascinated with humans in general, because it's like, why are you that way? Like, if you took somebody in, like adopted a child, and that person has no genetic relation to you whatsoever. They came from a drug-ridden home, some type of very bad upbringing, horrible genetics in the family, but then they come into a home that has love, care, all this greatness. Are they going to go which way? And like, you'll hear both accounts.
Yeah, it just depends, man. It's so crazy.
And whenever that all goes, you're like, man, that's all situational based. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the same thing I think every morning when I wake up. Just wake up and be the best motherfucker you can be.
That's literally all we can do as parents.
All you can do. And I know that I'm not that person every day. There's days whenever I am 50% of who I should be, because work got me, because an issue that arose today at work fucking ate me alive, because something that Hannah and I are talking about or having a disagreement about is fucking me up. And therefore, it's not allowing me to be the best person I can be.
So with that, here's my question, because I'm kind of getting to the point now where, so she's almost 4. She's more aware of, like, if daddy's in a bad mood or, whatever. So if you have one of those days, how do you approach that with them? Do you sit down and say, hey, look, daddy was an asshole today, this is why? Or, like, how do you handle that as a parent?
Okay. So I'm going to get, you guys are getting more out of me than I say on my own podcast. All right. So I was geared out of my fucking mind when I had Adeline, because I was competing. It was fucking nuts, dude.
For those who don't know, gear is referring to
Steroids. I was a professional bodybuilder, IFBB pro bodybuilder. At that time, we're talking 2011, 2012, 2010 to 2012. And so I was, at that time, I'm like, I want to be the best parent I can be. And I have a sheepdog mentality. Like, bro, just don't fuck with my shit. Like, I love everything about my life. I'm so fortunate, because you see people with like a real problem, dying young, cancer, debilitating diseases.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have those. However, it's like, I want to make sure that I raise this kid to be the best they can be. So I'm intense. I'm broke as fuck. I'm trying to make it in bodybuilding. I was very emotionless at times. So I would wake up and do my cardio. Adeline would, I had a small table and a small chair. I'd make her breakfast. Bro, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. She's awake. She's eating her breakfast while I'm doing 45 minutes of cardio.
She's how old at that time?
3.
3.
Yeah. So she saw me doing all this stuff. She saw me posing. She'd go to the gym with me. I'd go to the gym. She'd go with me. She'd go to the nursery. So it was always this. She always saw me doing things. And I would always tell her that whatever you put in, you'll get out. Like it was just something young I put into her head. And at the time, I'm very intense. Very little smiles. I'm very emotionless because I was so driven. I wanted to fucking win so I could make millions of dollars one day. That was in my head,
as a pro bodybuilder.
Yeah, I didn't know. It wasn't going to happen as a pro bodybuilder. But anyway, I had that concept. So, but like I was super hard on her too. Manners. Bro, you better be fucking polite. My mom always made sure, yes, ma'am, thank you, yes, sir, no, sir. Very polite, well-mannered. Because whenever you're out in public and your child and somebody gives something to your kid, not a pot, but they're like, this is for you, little buddy.
Yeah, and they just take it.
No, you want, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So I was always on her. If she said something, if somebody gave her something, I was like, say thank you. All those little things all the time. And I was always on her to be that. So Adeline is very well behaved and she's very, very well mannered. But
intense.
But I made sure that she saw me when something went wrong in her life or something bad was occurring. I would go fucking insane and protect her. Like there was times, one example was we were going to the grocery store and little things matter to me too. Like walking on the outside. Mm-hmm. Whenever you're walking with a female, you always walk on the outside closest to the traffic. Okay, and that was something I taught her. Whenever you meet a young boy, make sure that he does these certain things. So the one day we're walking and then we're walking across the street and a dude fucking in a car came flying through the parking lot. Pet peeve of mine, people flying through parking lots. Dude almost hit her. He was a middle-aged, a little older than middle-aged, and I like picked up Adeline and like threw her over. Well, at the time, I might have been sauced out of my fucking mind and maybe having a bad day because my life was a little intense at the time with my personal life. And I fucking lost it in the parking lot. Lost it. Ripped the dude's fucking mirrors off his car, kicking the side, fucking pounding on the window. I lost my shit. It was not cool of me to do. And she's just standing there like, Dad's fucking losing it. That's a bad move on your part. Like, telling that to that guy, like in her head.
Yeah.
And so then after that, I'm like fucking like shaking, all freaked out. And why would I do that? I'd never do something like that now, but 10 years ago, that was my personality.
It's like fucking never back down. That just came into my head. I don't know why.
So I lost my shit. I lost my cool, but I was like, and I told her, I was like, that wasn't good of me to do, but you know, that person almost hit you. And I got a little overwhelmed and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I get it. This is a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid at the time.
Wow.
And then I was always intense, like when I was training, when I was this. So she saw me always this way. And it was like that tough love, but she knew that I loved her more than anything in the world at that time. Like she was everything to me. So that environment of growing up, and I did that on other things too. I was a little bit of a hothead. I was geared out of my fucking mind.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like you're living and learning. I think that's one of the reasons like people ask, am I different now than I was then? And I'm like, yes, very.
Yeah. And I think that's a struggle that a lot of parents have is like, A, you're not going to be perfect, but B, you don't have to be perfect, but bring them along for the lessons as you learn them too, right?
Absolutely. So, and you know, whenever you calm down, and then nothing ever came of it, which I was very fortunate of, because that's how some people get in the deep shit.
Dude,
or become
that
notorious.
Guy could have fucking pressed charges and
anything. And so whenever it comes to Adeline, like she has that in her, and I see that, and I'm like, fuck,
that's me.
She's and she's done it. She's done things. I think I said it. I don't know if I said it on my podcast. Whenever I realized that that's how she was, her best friend in the neighborhood. They were on the bus, and there was a bully, and this bully's like 2 or 3 grades ahead of them, and it's a female, and she would bully people on the bus. And the one day she punched. I don't know if he said something. Her best friend Weston, if he said something to this girl or what it transpired, but end of the day, the girl punched him in the nose, and this kid is a wonderful kid. And he knew that he couldn't hit a girl back.
Right.
So he didn't, but Adeline saw it.
Oh, shit.
Went fucking red. Apparently, she ran over to the girl, started beating her head off the fucking window on the
fucking
bus,
awesome.
like throwing her around. The girl tried hitting Adeline. Adeline was just throwing her around, screaming, "You shouldn't hit people," blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, she's fucking hitting the kid's head off the window. And then they came off the bus. We're all waiting there, picking our kids up. And the kids are like, Adeline, West, he's crying. He's crying. And she's, and I see her shaking. And they're like, Adeline beat the bully up. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't know what to do at this time.
Yeah,
I'm like, do I congratulate her?
I was gonna
Teaching
say,
lesson is that?
Bro, a million things are running through my head. And she's shaking. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, are you hurt? And she's like, no, but she is. And I'm like, oh, fuck me, dude.
You just want to give her a fucking pound and say good shit.
So that's a teachable moment at that time.
Yeah.
And my problem is I did those things. Monkey see, monkey do. The kid sees you do something, more than likely the kid is going to do it.
And that's what, like, right now at this stage, it's like we're right there where I see her replicating shit that I've done. And it's like, how do I handle that? Because then I got to admit, daddy's not perfect, right? Like, daddy's working on it.
Yeah.
But, you shouldn't do that just because you saw me do that. Do as I say, not as I do, right?
And that's tough because it's like that quality that I have. That I'm like that. I'm very profane. I'm very intense. I'm very over the top. I'm super passionate. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I love what I do, and I want to see people succeed. So, but at the same time, I'm overly protective of my people because most of the time, not everybody thinks like this.
Yeah.
Not everybody has this side of them that's super intense and where you're able to just go fucking red. And if somebody is trying to harm somebody that can't protect themselves from a person like that, you lose your shit.
Yeah.
Like you just go all out.
Exactly what your daughter did.
And so I was like, okay, that's part of me. That's who she is. And that's just her. So, and it's like, is that part of her personality because of nature or because of nurture?
Yeah. I think sometimes you hit the perfect storm where it's
A
both.
little bit of both,
Like you being just like your dad.
But then in that, Emmy has never seen that. And Adeline, I might have gave Adeline a couple ass whoopings because she's like me. She's super intense.
Yeah.
When she was young, bro, that bitch would break fucking rules. She'd want to do cool shit. That was her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then every now and then she'd talk back. She'd get a little smart. And that's a big thing that I'm not a fan of. So Emmy's getting older. We have Emmy, and Emmy's getting older, and Emmy's 3 or 4 at this time. And Emmy's never seen me lose my shit. She doesn't know. And Adeline, whenever I'd get upset, Adeline would be like, no, he's going to get pissed. And whenever I would lose my shit, if I got pushed to that point, Emmy would just stiffen up. And Adeline's like, oh, God damn it.
Here he goes again.
Oh, I shouldn't have did it because she knows it's coming. But that's why I find this all fascinating.
It's tough, man. It's like being a parent is so fucking like, it's a mind fuck because you're watching this human mimic what you do while you're trying to be a better human at the same time.
You see, I'm still in the where they're basically just like they're just shitting and sleeping and
enjoy
crying.
That.
So
That shit doesn't last long.
But everyone's like, because look, we were talking about out there, and I was like, yeah, I'm a bitch. I'm an emotional person. But I am very big on respect and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I know that I'm going to have to punish her at some point. Everyone's like, dude, wait till the first time you have to look at her and put her in timeout or yell at her, and then you're sitting downstairs and you're like, dude, fuck.
You're
Dude,
like,
the other night, she was not go to sleep, and I'm like, what do you want from me? I finally got her to sleep, and I'm like, I shouldn't have fucking asked her that, dude. I'm a dickhead. Like, I'm a bad father. I'm spiking binkies around.
But I think it's
And I'm
important. It's important to acknowledge, like, we all deal with that shit. Like, every fucking dad, if you give a fuck, you've dealt with feeling like a piece of shit for saying stuff like that to your kid, or for seeing your kid embody some negative attribute that you have, right? Like, just like what the bus thing and you going off then. It's like, that's just part of it, man. All you can, but then it's like, what do you do moving forward?
You said it on a podcast we did before. It's like all you want to do is raise them the right way and be the perfect example of a man that they're going to look for later on, right?
And I do believe that.
So
fully.
And there are some things that are negative traits about yourself that you don't want her to find. And I know that there's a plenty in me as well that I don't want her to find in a man. But for the majority of the time, everything that you do, you want to exemplify what they should be looking for.
Dude,
And-
you're coming up on that. What, 13 is your oldest?
She's in it. Well, the
She's
thing
in it?
is, COVID is the only thing stopping it right now.
I
They don't
always
go
talk to
school.
Aunt and Dave. I'm like, all I want to do is be the jacked up, tatted father. Everyone's like, yo, you don't. My daughter's name's Emerson, so we call her Emmy too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you don't want to date Emmy, dude. You see her fucking dad and her uncle. Like, you don't fuck around with them.
Adeline, I'm like, you just better have thick fucking skin. She is a ball buster. Like, she's a fucking huge ball buster. So that's where I'm like, all right, dude. I was like, you better be cool. Like,
Do you get any kickback from like, you know, when people see you're fucking raw, real, you're known. So other parents where it's like, I mean, it kind of
Yeah, I
goes
wonder
into
about
the
that.
masculinity
Yeah.
shit
So-
too, where it's like, you get any
So,
pushback with the other
I
parents at
believe
soccer or whatever?
this. I mean, listen. I'm genuine. I genuinely love life. Everybody knows that I do. It's something that I talk about it so much. So I mean, I have to put my best foot forward all the time. But everybody knows that I have the best intentions. And sometimes that's a vague, oh, I got the best intentions, but I'm sorry I fucked up. But
I mean, well.
I mean, no, like teachers, the principal of the school, like they know I'm foul mouthed, but they look at Adeline and Adeline's this ideal kid. They see Emmy and they're like, bro, your kids don't swear. They don't swear. They're super well mannered. They work incredibly hard. They never really act out, but like they're also, but they see them online and they're like, these kids are super driven. And I'm like, yeah, like even though I'm a little bit of a foul-mouthed prick, like I hold these kids to a high standard because I want to see them do something great. So I don't get a whole lot of kickback. I mean, of course, there's people that probably talk shit and say that I'm a fucking asshole, gearhead, whatever you want to say. And I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, but that's usually coming from a place within them where they feel.
And maybe they had a bad day or
Yeah.
something's going wrong. Or, I mean, and I hold, if you get close to me, if you are in my circle, I hold you to an incredibly high standard. Our employees, we hold them to a very high standard. Hannah, myself, my kids, I hold myself and them to a high standard because look at the opportunity you have.
Exactly.
You're healthy. You're able-bodied. You should be doing something that people just want to gravitate towards. If you have those attributes, you should be exemplifying them constantly. That means like if there's something you want to try and do, go do it. Go put the time in and try it. And if you don't like it, fuck it, walk away and do something else. But if you just are able-bodied and healthy and you're just sitting around beating your dick all day, well, I really don't want to be around you. I want to be around people that are willing to go out and do cool things and experiment with life in anything they want to do. If you want to fucking crochet, bro, I don't give a fuck if you want to do it. You want to make me like something cool to hang on the wall? I'll fucking take
Yeah.
it. I'll
Just-
tell everybody all about it.
Just try to be the best crocheter you can be.
That's it. And you hear a lot of people talk about it on social media, other successful, other hard, intense people, but it's legitimate truth
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm doing it in my life.
Well,
And
it's like you talked about in the beginning, like no matter whether you're that fucking 16-year-old kid doing hard manual labor, but you take pride in the fact that you do it to the best of your ability. Like my first job was sweeping hair in a hair salon when I was 14 years old. And
Bitches.
Dude, I was the bitch of all bitches, and but I took so much fucking pride in that and keeping that floor clean that like. It didn't matter that I was like barely getting fucking paid or any of that shit, and I carried that forward into the other shit that I did, and so like that's what I'm trying to teach my daughter as well. Is like it doesn't matter what it is, and you know we talked a lot about First Form and how I'm involved with that company, and you know Andy talks about that. He's like, if you're flipping fucking burgers, be the best burger flipper you can be, and good shit will come of that. You know, just take pride in what you're doing.
it is wild that, like, I say it all the time. Andy says it all the time, and other big entrepreneurial people within our fitness, hardcore, manly environment, I should say, we all say the same shit.
Yeah, because it's true and it works.
Because if you look at Andy, I don't know his education background, but I'm going to guess that he's not utilizing what he learned from that aspect in his life because what he's doing is so unique.
Well, and what you guys do, you, Andy, and speaking from the outside too, growing up watching you guys and getting into the industry that way, with social media now, you see a lot of people who appear successful, but they never talk about what they actually do to get there. They don't talk about the shitty nights and all that bullshit. You guys are true, transparent, relatable, because it's like, just put your fucking head down and work. It's not me, a picture of me on a yacht in Miami, you know, driving around in a Lambo. It's, yeah, man, been here since fucking 6 a.m. I'm the owner of this thing, still fucking here, right? Still sweeping floors, still taking out trash. That's real life, and that's fucking relatable. And I feel like that's why, you know, and a lot of the people, like you said, in the manly industry are attracted to that.
And that we'll get on that subject now since it's there. This whole masculine outlook of life that I have, like, bro, I mean, I don't know why. This is why it blows my mind. Like splitting wood. Like, bro, you can't get really much more fucking like that manly aspect of just cutting logs all day long. Beating your out in the fucking cold or in the fall, flannel, fucking beard, splitting.
Yo,
wood,
when you
sweating.
were like on the phone, when you were like, "Yo, we'll do whatever. What do you guys want to do?" I was like, "We should just go chop wood before the podcast and just hang out there and
Bro,
shoot this shit instead of lift."
It is something that I just absolutely love. I didn't do it growing up. Mm-mm. Whenever I became a father, and I guess maybe because like I had a daughter and like what she would want in a man. And I was like, I never did it. And I'm like, man, like, I like big trucks. I love being jacked. And I was like, man, like splitting wood all day, like heating the house. Like I have this primal feeling of like wanting to have a garden, kill animals.
Some chickens. Some
feeding my family from the land. And like I live on a house that has 2 wood burners in it that you can heat the whole house with 2 wood burners.
You use the wood burning stove or our fireplace?
No, the fireplace. I have a wood burner in the living room that like there's times that I would get so excited. I'd be like, yeah, let's see.
You just like find shit to do to keep just find manly shit to do.
Yes.
The day that I found out I was having a kid, I had no tools. I don't know anything. First time I chopped wood was like 4 years ago with fucking Ashley's brother and grandfather.
Yeah.
And I was like, flipped a switch. Now I have a fuck ton of tools, chainsaws. I'm finding shit to do. I'm building shit for no reason because it's like that primal father manly feeling.
It's a wild thing that occurs that, again, I can't explain it. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I just like it. But then some people don't, and that's perfectly fine, and I'm cool with that. But then that whole toxic masculinity conversation started happening, and that started coming into it. I'm like, what's occurring? Like, I know there's pieces of shit in the world. Like, there's a piece of shit around every fucking corner if you want to look for them.
But there's piece of shit men and women. And
Yeah.
it's not like being a piece of shit isn't tied to masculinity in any way.
Well,
But that's-
pose the question.
But that's why I'm like,
What is it?
what is toxic masculinity? Whenever I started hearing about it, I'm like, what's the definition of it? Because whenever you look it up, it's this vague definition, and then it says it's not referring to being protective and wanting to take care of your family. And I'm like, well, then it's not those things. It's not being protective, and it's not wanting to feed and take care of your family, like that whole concept of splitting wood and being manly. I'm like, then what is it? Like, what else is what's the toxic masculinity? Because is it too masculine? Is that the problem? Is it the fact that the traditional household of being masculine and feminine, like having those two things, is that not how it's supposed to be? Because I grew up in that environment, and it was not perfect by any means. But like, my dad fucking went to work every day, and my mom took care of the kids. My mom cooked all the food. She did all the laundry. And my dad made all the fucking money.
An interesting thing I heard of it, and I think it was when you and Jess and I were on, and we were talking about the rise in toxic masculinity goes hand in hand with the rise in feminism, and thinking that they can't coexist.
Yeah.
Is a big
with
fucking
third wave
problem.
feminism, which is a different beast entirely.
A what?
There's been like 3 waves of feminism. Like the first was like right to vote.
Oh, okay.
And then it secondly is like basically like I'm independent, I don't need a man, whatever. And then the third is like fuck men shouldn't exist. Like we don't, the biggest extreme, and that's third wave feminism basically. And I'm sure some people will call me out and say I'm wrong on those definitions, but for the most part, that's what it is.
Simple concept.
Yeah, simple concept. Like feminism in and of itself, the advent of feminism was a great fucking thing. Like you get to vote, you get, all of this, but it's taken to the extreme now where it's less about equality and more about advantage, and like not being equal, but getting ahead. And like, that's where it's dangerous, because now you start to just give masculinity in general a negative connotation, right? Like people will just look at you, myself, Tut, anybody, and just judge you as toxic. And we talked about this before off camera. Is like, I have young guys reach out to me now, like, what do? I don't know what to fucking do. Like, I'm competitive. I'm this, I'm that. And like, I'm told that that's a bad thing. And like, I'm like, no, those traits are going to get you ahead in life. You got to cut out the fucking noise.
Well, I guess
a lot of it is I think it's the competitive piece and wanting to compete, wanting to be better than someone now as a man.
Well, for sure.
They're saying it's toxic.
Because there's the patriarchy. I'm sure you've heard that word tossed around.
It's crazy because you just said the competitiveness and that whole thing of everybody getting a trophy was like the first small step or something you could say with that. And I'm like, okay, but the competitive side of life is going to exist no matter what. And it just will, because it's been like that forever, whether it's been fuck, dude. I mean, even going back to just being an alpha male in olden times, the medieval times, all that, like fighting and killing and
Spartan warriors are better than the fucking peasants.
It's always been like that. So, but with today, I look at it and I'm like, you brought up a good point about the feminism thing, and it's like whenever you hear feminism, a lot of people put a negative connotation on that, and masculinity, and it's like, I hate it because let's say 95% of the people are cool. 5% of the people in the world or in the country get polarized.
Right.
And you're like, man, you guys are playing this identity bullshit really fucking hard, and you're making me think that there's a problem.
And you're exactly right, because that 5% is usually the loudest voices on social media. So everybody's looking at that thinking that's the world.
And everybody's tied up with their own life so hard and so much that they're like, fuck it, dude. You guys are just fucking white noise.
Yep.
But in reality, it's becoming a thing and progressing further and further. And for me, like feminism, whenever I hear it, I'm like, well, yeah, I have fucking 2 daughters. I want strong, independent women.
Exactly.
I don't want some deadbeat cocksucker coming along, fucking stealing my young daughter's heart and like fucking up her life. Because that can happen.
Right.
So I need a strong, independent female as a daughter, hence the fucking gymnastics facility we built.
Yeah.
Why? Because that place is there to build young females, to help them build their self-confidence, to help them believe that they are worth great things in life, because there's nothing more difficult than getting on a fucking balance beam that's 4 foot off the ground, 4 inches wide, in front of over 100 people when you're 10 years old and don't fucking fall. Like, bro, that's a lot of fucking stress for a 10-year-old to handle. She nails the fucking routine, gets off and goes on the podium and takes top 3. So she's on the podium in front of everybody receiving a medal. That girl leaves the gym, goes to school, and believes that she can accomplish anything she can put her mind to.
Exactly.
Some strong shit we're talking there.
And think of the disservice you do to that girl when there's 8 girls and they all get a fucking trophy, even though she did so much better than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of hard work?
So that's why I love gymnastics, because it is a very crazy sport where not everybody gets a medal all the time. Not everybody gets one. So I love that. But I tell you what, dude, it hurts whenever you watch kids that work really hard not get one. And I'm like, fuck, dude. And then you're like, as a parent,
that work harder.
You just got to work harder.
Yeah.
And you have to harden up yourself.
Right.
You can't be a pussy and be like, oh, it's okay, we'll get this and do this. It's like, no.
And that's so prevalent these days.
You have to be like, this is going to hurt. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it, because you're going to have to tell your kid you didn't win because you didn't work hard enough.
Right. Or here's
like,
where
that's
things
fucking
went
tough,
wrong.
dude. Who wants to do that?
I'm dreading that when that shit comes.
Who wants to do that? But you have to.
You have to.
In order to make your kid better, because believe it or not, you're not fucking special the way you are.
Nope, not at all.
You're not special the fucking way you are. I'm not special the way I am. I have to work to become better. End of fucking story. And that's something that today people are like, you can't say that. Why not?
It's so, like, that to me is the toxic shit. Like telling everybody that you're special, you don't have to work hard, everybody deserves a medal. You can get into college with lower grades because you're a, underprivileged, whatever. Like fucking, like all you're doing is setting them up for failure later.
I think so.
You have to put them in that crucible of hard work and force them to get better.
Don't quote me on this, but I heard, I was listening to something where they said that the people that graduate, the number of graduation rate for the people that get into these higher level schools that go through that I forget what it's
Affirmative
called.
action.
The affirmative action is significantly lower.
They do terrible in
than
the job
ones-
market. Yeah,
yep,
so there's
than
a lot
the
of
ones that
stats.
get into school without it.
Yeah, Thomas Sowell, the famous economist from Princeton or Stanford, rather, he's awesome. He's God, he's like fucking 90 now. But
He's like the number one that everyone references when they
yeah.
talk about.
So I mean, he studied that extensively and talks about it extensively. It's like these, people who get into elite universities because they get to have lower scores because of affirmative action. They got lower scores for a reason. Like they get into this university and they perform poorly, and then they don't do well in the job market, and it's this vicious cycle. It's like, how about you hold us all to the same fucking standard, give us all the same opportunity?
So it's just like every governmental program. Everything sounds good in the beginning.
Yeah,
Everything sounds good in the beginning, and the way that I equate that concept, I follow Thomas Sowell, all that. I never dug into his research and things.
he's awesome. Man.
Oh yeah. But however, like the way I equate everything to is just gymnastics, because I told you guys it's all we fucking do around here. Okay,
Gymnastics,
it's all we
Dad, that's
fucking
it.
do. So over there, you want to see all these girls do good. However, the girls that have had to work to get something versus girls that are just insanely talented.
Yeah,
Okay, if there's somebody that's just really talented and everything comes easy to them, when something gets hard, they falter and almost fail or give up. However, the girls that had to work through issues, mental blocks, because dude, if you're doing a backflip on a fucking beam, the beam is 4 foot off the ground, 4 inches wide. If you have to do a backflip on that, okay, you're gonna have a mental block. This just doesn't want to do it. If there was things that this child had to work through already, like mental blocks, whenever they hit another one, they can be like, I can do this. I just have to do it my way, focus on my things, and have good coaching
Right.
to get them to do it.
but if they never had to before,
But if they never had to before, you had this crazy, intense, fucking massive potential that is phenomenal, but then meets one fucking block
yeah,
and it's over for them.
yeah,
They never had to work at anything, and then all of a sudden they have to work. And then the kids that did have to work, that still do have talent, their hard work is now paying off more than the kid that was just super talented.
Yeah.
You see it happen in sports. You see it happen all the time.
and that's got to be another tough fucking conversation. Like if you got the kid who's working hard, but they're losing to a kid who isn't, but they're just talented. They're
Yep.
just gifted. Like,
What do you say to someone that is you're raising
So,
your daughter?
just tell them to
who's
keep
a stud?
fucking working, and it's
Yep.
going to shake out.
So this is that thing where it comes in. I look at it, that's very relatable to what the conversation about what we just had about colleges, because once you get to that level, if you can't function at that level, you're going to give up and fail.
yeah, you're going to fail.
And it's gonna affect your life. Well, I'm just talking about kids over here in gymnastics, but it's that same thing. Like I'm watching kids that work really hard and have this work ethic, just chalk up wins, and you're like, motherfucker, you got the shit. It's pretty exciting because if you can combine talent and hard work, you don't know what's gonna occur. Something great may occur.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So there's one girl over there. Her name's Natalia. This girl is a fucking animal. She taught herself how to do gymnastics from YouTube videos. Just taught herself. She showed up. She showed up at the gym one day, not here, at the previous place Hannah worked. And this kid was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I can do a backflip on the beam and all this stuff." And Hannah's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! No! You don't just do these things. You have to work into it. These are super dangerous. You can get hurt. All this." And she's saying that she can do it and this and that. And Hannah's fine, like, "Go ahead, fucking do it. Show me." Just nails a backflip on the beam. And Hannah's like, "Oh my God, I got a phenom on my hands." But and that was, I think she was 10 years old. So usually kids start at 5 years old. This kid's 10 and can do all things that other 10-year-olds can't do.
Right.
Like this kid's leaps and bounds because she's so talented. What turns out, she just worked at home doing it. So her work ethic is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And it's nuts. The bitch is just hard-working kid.
As soon as you said she taught herself from YouTube, like that's a certain type of internal drive that a lot of people don't have, man.
So now when other kids that are very talented get around her, boy, does she set the fucking bar high. Because my daughter and her go back and forth. Like
See, and
Adeline.
that's awesome.
And it's tough because you can see Adeline comes home and she got her ass kicked at practice. Like she just had an off day and Natalia was fucking on, and Adeline comes home a little bitchy, a little moody. I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "Could have did better." I'm like, "Well, just got to work harder. Today wasn't your day."
Yeah.
I was like, "What are you going to do? Fucking quit?" because you had a bad day? Shut the fuck up. I say that to Addie, not Emmy.
I was just say, holy shit.
But the thing is, I believe with Adeline, the harder I am on her, because I know she can take it.
Yeah.
My ex-wife, her mom, it was a really bad situation, very bad. And Adeline watched the demise of it all, and then Adeline knew that I have full custody of both my children because of the situation that occurred, and she knows that's part of her, that she knows that like I'll always be there. In that same regard, like since it was so tough, Adeline can handle a lot. So I expect Adeline to do fucking great things. She can handle it. No one will be able to break that bitch other than me. And I'm not breaking her, I'm building her. So like whenever she faces hard things in life or has problems, or whether it's from school, she wants to be a pediatrician and she wants to do these great things, and that can change. But there will be nothing that girl will ever face in her life that will be harder than how I raised her. She'll look and be like, fuck you, my dad's way harder on me than you. Just shut the fuck up, get out of my way. I want her to have that mentality.
Yeah.
Is that very dangerous? It's fucking super dangerous, because what happens if she develops that when she's 16 years old?
Yeah, but also
against me.
What's more dangerous though, that or raising a soft kid that got a participation trophy? And
That was
never
what
had
I
to
was
work
going to
for
say.
anything?
In society today, when you're raising your kid, I mean, you could probably get a lot of fucking kickback if people knew the way that you were raising her now.
Yeah.
When they see people do it. And you even said you gave her a couple ass whoopings.
Yeah.
You can't ass whoop now.
And I equate that back to how I was raised. My dad was fucking tough on me. I hated that cocksucker. However, I knew that my dad had my best interest. It was that love-hate relationship. And with Adeline, I push her to these lengths because I tell her all the time, you're going to do great things. But if you think they're just going to be fucking handed to you, you're wrong.
Yeah.
She's going to. I'm very confident in that. She might end up, something could happen, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to push her because I think that she can do something that makes me look like a fucking peasant. And if my children, any of my children can achieve that, I will be blown away, because right now with my dad, he sees what I'm building and all the businesses. And bro, he's owned a business for 43, 44 years. And he looks and he's like, this is fucking insane. He's like, Seth, he's like, this is nuts. I can't believe that you're actually, he's like, I can believe it, but I can't. And his thing is, and watching him, how proud he is of me, of everything I'm working for, is something that I would love to, because he knows what an asshole he was to me.
Well, you can equate your success and the person you are to him doing that and raising you the right way.
Directly.
Yeah.
Was it the right way?
Yeah.
But I am who I am because of those experiences.
Well, yeah. And I talked about this, I think it was on one of our first podcasts, but like, I don't know many like successful people that I look up to that didn't face hardship or adversity or a tough ass parent or having to overcome in some capacity growing up. Like, it's very rare. And that's tough as a fucking parent, because you're like, I know that's true, but I also want to give her a good life, and I don't want to create false adversity just to, and I know it sounds like your kids have kind of found that through gymnastics, which is awesome. And, something for parents to maybe, consider. But it's just tough, man. It's like how, I know that like my work ethic and the things that I've done came directly from having shitty parents who, beat me, were drug addicts. I had to survive all of that. I came out of that, but I also know a lot of kids I grew up with that were exposed to that are fucking drug addict junkies that took onto that lifestyle. So it's like, fuck, man, it goes back to what you said, like, just do your best and try to.
It's the nature, right? Like you said. So I had a perfect childhood. My life growing up was perfect. I lived in a little house in New Hampshire, right? And he asked the question on the podcast. He's like, how did your work ethic, how did you get to being where you are right now without dealing with adversity? My biggest adversity was failing in sports, really, right?
Yeah.
So
But
my parents, they did not spoil me. I never needed for anything, but there was a lot of things that I wanted.
Sure.
Right? So, but they wouldn't spoil me, but they raised me knowing respect, and then they raised me knowing I can go get anything that I want, and that I shouldn't stop until I'm doing what I want to do. I always say chasing happiness, not a paycheck. That was a big thing for them. So that's where it came for me, was my parents in a very happy household, never really yelling, but just said, don't ever go fucking work for someone else if you don't want to.
Did you ever get spanked?
No, but I got soap a lot, and then liquid soap in the mouth
Get
for
the fuck outta
swearing.
here.
Yeah, my mom couldn't find a soap bar. She gets the fucking thing, starts pumping it in my mouth.
Well, it's
You know, but never spank her. She threatened me a lot, but never.
and what's hard about that is we're talking about his upbringing. I had wonderful parents growing up, but my dad raised me to be a fucking man.
He was tough on you.
He was super fucking tough
Yeah.
on me. Was that the most adverse thing I faced? No, mine was later in life. But what do we say to you? Like, fuck you, because your parents did such a good job.
Yeah. You know,
like they
like-
worked really hard
Right,
to
and
be successful people, provide a great life, because that's the goal that we all have.
Exactly.
And I think as I got older, and I more so saw the struggles, because there was a lot of shit behind the scenes that I didn't know about as a kid. You know, my dad losing his job 2 weeks into a 30-year mortgage, pumping gas, chopping wood.
Oh my God, yeah.
You plowing snow to make
Make ends meet.
$5 an hour. Babysitting was, $50 a day back then or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's paying just for babysitting. But realizing that as I got older and was maturing, then you start to kind of put it together of the sacrifices to provide a good life, where, and more so leading by example rather than having to go through shit. But I think a lot of that goes, like you said, into the nature also of it. That's just how I am, I guess. And different people respond to different situations.
For sure. And like we were saying with that, like, what are you supposed to do because of that upbringing? Where does the adversity come from? Where it is for, like, adversity, I do believe is you need that in life. Like, you can't protect your kids or you from everything forever. Like, you got to live. Like, because if you don't allow your children or you don't allow yourself to live, or you're never going to fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how
and
you
letting
learn.
your kids fail,
And like Adeline, Adeline's adversity, I believe, was whenever her and her mother and I got divorced, and it was like her mom became non-existent. She just not around. So then Adeline had to realize that, like, her mom's just not around. Whenever, like, it had to be just me then, and it was something that, like, why was that occurring? I don't know. She just having all these different things, and I think it hardened her in that sense. But later on in life, and that was actually my biggest adversity in my life, was going through that scenario, because I was trying to save somebody who didn't want saving. So if I was trying to save somebody who didn't want saving, that means that I had to let that person go, because I can't do nothing about it. So along that, we both grew, and Emmy knows no adversity. Emmy just knows that Hannah's her new mom, and that's it. And she's super happy and everything's great. And then I look at people like Hannah. Hannah's parents were, like, in their 40s when they had her. So Hannah's adversity is her mom passed away when she was 19 years old. So she's 19 years old and her mom died. Well, Hannah was like the fucking trophy child. Her parents were older. They were softer. They spoiled the shit out of her.
Yeah.
But then she didn't know all these things that she'd love to know right now from her mom. She has her own son. She raises my two daughters, she's 3 years now. So, like, all these things that she would love to ask a mom, how do I do this? What do I do in this scenario? She doesn't have that. So that's her adversity in life, and she does tremendous without it, because I still have both parents. If I couldn't call my dad and I needed him, I'd be like, fuck.
Well, and
That
going
sucks.
through too, like, if you are a successful person, right, and your children don't have to be brought up through adversity, I think competing in sports is a great way to teach them and to let them fail, to let them know that they have to work harder to get it. They're not just going to get a trophy, and that's where the whole everyone gets a trophy thing really fucks up a lot of people. Take it from someone like me. I think my generation was right before everyone started getting trophies.
Yeah.
So because I had a good life, my parents used sports failing to teach me and to make me realize things.
Yeah.
So
Make you know you suck.
exactly. I couldn't fucking hit for shit in baseball.
We won't talk about golf and what happened with
Golf,
you.
very bad, very bad. But using that, I think if you can prepare them, you can use it to prepare them. But now the competition in life, in society, is that toxic shit. Because why do you need to be better than Dave?
Well, right. And that's why I brought up adversity was, for me personally, what got me through that shit was a lot of these traits that people would call toxic masculinity now. Being competitive, being independent, being strong-willed and stubborn as fuck, and like all these things that helped me survive. We're now telling kids, like, don't be that way. Don't be that way. You shouldn't be that way.
Is that crazy?
It's fucking nuts.
Fucked.
Wow.
It's fucked.
Blows
It's
my mind.
Why do you need? Why do you need to be better than me? We should just be equal. that's what they're saying.
But I don't.
But that's a false reality that'll never exist because every human is different, and as long as humans are different, there's going to be people who are more or less successful in life.
Is it not crazy too that like when it boils down to it, everything like you're saying, don't chase a paycheck, chase happiness. That's a great trait because I chased both, and I've always wanted to be uber financially successful, but I thought I would do it different ways until like once I spent all my money on what we have today, like I had to go for broke, like hard fucking core. And it worked out and everything's going well. And right now my next stage is just living. I just need to live because I have way more things than I dreamt of. So that means that like I have to have new dreams.
Yeah.
How do you do that? You just live. So that's the point I am right now. But oh fuck, where was I going with that? God damn it.
Blacked out.
What's that? Blacked out. But yeah, the toxic masculinity part, the masculinity part of it. Oh, what was it? Fuck.
Well, you probably
I
get it a
lost my
lot more.
track.
I always say even people like you and Dave, like bodybuilders in general, people that take care of their bodies in general are known much more of being self-centered, egotistical than anyone else because it's like you only care about what you fucking look like with your shirt off.
Yeah.
So that's another reason that goes into the masculinity is toxic thing because it's why do you care only so much about what you look like? Why and
you know how you just said us and not him, like he doesn't care about what he
I don't
looks
get
like.
judged. I look like a fucking cross-country runner compared to you guys. You know what I'm saying?
But I think, I mean,
I meant that as in give yourself some credit. You,
thank
you
you.
have a
It
physique.
I mean, whether you're male or female, gay or straight, black or white, Asian or whatever the fuck you are, purple, I think that everybody should wake up and look in the mirror and be happy with what they see. You know what I mean? Whenever I wake up, like what I should rephrase
Why is it wrong
that.
for me to want to look good
I
naked?
should no. Well, that's what I was getting at. I think whenever I wake up, it's not that I should be happy with what I should see. I should be working to be happy with what I look like. Because whenever you wake up in the morning, like a big thing for me is now I look fucking way older. Like the wrinkles on the face.
Dude, don't get me started about that.
So I wake up and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, that's me? I'm like, holy fuck, I thought I was way younger. So I wake up, but then I look, I take my shirt off or I'm getting a shower. I just finished cardio and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I'm not looking at how great I look. I'm like, fuck, okay, like I got to do something about the belly. I was like, my shoulders look great. They're big. They're bigger than my stomach, so I'm okay for now. But like, I was like, I got to work on this shit. And so I'm working to look good naked. I want there to be something that happens in my brain where I smile because of how I look, because that helps build my self-confidence.
Exactly.
Hannah looks at me and she's like, you're just so fucking sexy. And I'm like, yeah. But that doesn't matter because I'm still like, I still got to work harder for myself. And it could be egotistical, call it whatever you want. But I think that if you look in the front of the mirror and are like, man, I'd love to look a little bit better, all that means is you have to do more work.
Yeah. Well, I think, and we've talked about this before, like fit shaming versus fat shaming and all of that shit. Like, it's no different to, for someone to be comfortable in their skin as a fat person, and we're dealing with that these days, which that's a whole nother thing we can get into. But, that being proud of how you look, no matter what, is important, like you said, because I think it's important to strive for whatever your version of excellence is, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, kind of firing on all cylinders. And for you and for me and a lot of guys, that's having a certain physique and, looking a certain way.
Well, what's wrong with wanting to look good?
Nothing at all. And whether that's to be better for your significant other or for yourself or whatever, like it's okay. And that's another thing that.
But then I guess maybe, I'm going to stop you real quick. I'll ask a question. Do you think that's because like, okay, so the fit shaming and fat shaming, like, bro, I don't give a fuck if you're fat. Go ahead, be fat.
No, but I'm also not going to say that being fat is healthy, and that's a problem.
And that's fine, but even so, it's like, I'm sure that we can find a common ground. Like, I like snacks.
I know
Me
why.
too.
I think I have, in my mind, have a general idea of why people fit shame and come at people.
So, and I'm like, but I'm, there's things I say on the podcast that I have and on here, And it may get you in trouble. And you guys, like when you talk for a couple hours, you're going to say things that people might strike. One thing, you could say 99 things wrong, right?
Of course.
One thing wrong, and they're like, fuck you, you cunt.
You're canceled.
Yeah. So, but here's the gig. So with the fit and the fat shaming, like it goes back to the same thing with toxic masculinity. I don't like judging people. I just don't like doing it. I don't fuck with it. If I find somebody that I want to judge, I'm like, I just going to eliminate you. Like football. I love watching football. It's a bag of dicks now, blah, blah, blah. People say it. I'm like, well, I still enjoy it. But like if I see something like Tom Brady, like a lot of Pittsburghers fucking hate Tom Brady.
Fucking GOAT, baby.
But then I'm looking at him like, how can you hate this guy? I was like, he works
as a human,
so hard at
right?
everything he does. Even if he kissed his son on his lips as a kid. That's maybe something he does. I don't know. I'm not into it, but you do some shit like that, cool, do it. You're fine. I'm not going to fucking judge you. You raising your kids your way, doing your thing. And it's crazy because people like want to judge him upon that. And I'm like, so should somebody dig into your life?
Exactly.
Are you perfect? Have you never done anything wrong in your life? Why don't we like put a camera on you all day and watch you jerk off 7 times and cry yourself to sleep at night?
Yep.
Like, let's do that one. Like, oh man, that really sucks.
You kind of like went over it really quick, but you made a good point where you said like if I feel as though like I want to judge someone or I don't like, I just don't fucking watch them.
Judgment comes
don't
from
follow
jealousy.
them. Like
That's why people who take care of their bodies and have a good physique, they get judged because it's fucking hard to do it, and they're just sitting there on their computer. Like,
well, guess who's not judging those people? People who are in shape.
Yeah.
People who it's always so you never punch down. Like you notice that like you're never gonna have Andy Frisella talking shit about some like me. You know what I mean? Like people don't punch down. So if anybody's taking the time out of their day to come on your shit and talk shit to you, their life is shittier than yours. You need to take stock in that because
wow, I like that.
It's always true. If you break it down and look at it every single fucking time, it's not somebody who's crushing it in life that's coming and talking about your dumb meathead ass. You know, it's somebody who feels
It's crazy you just said that.
a void in their life and they're not satisfying it themselves, so they have to come onto your shit and make themselves feel better.
I gotta look this up real quick. I was where was it? I screenshot this thing that was it was a Tupac quote, and it was exactly what you just said.
It's true, man.
It was so similar.
That's what I said. I remember on one of the podcasts, I was like, I don't have any public haters yet because I'm not successful enough. I haven't made it big enough on social media. I'm like, I want to get to the point where people come on my shit and hate on me because then I know that I'm doing enough and people are judging or jealous of what I'm doing. Like I think once you get those public haters, you've made it.
Well,
for sure.
Look, people who are killing it in life don't have time to troll. They don't have time to go on somebody else's shit and talk shit. They're too busy killing it in life. So like remember that if something like this is anybody listening, if you're letting some bullshit on social media get to you where some asshole is talking shit to you, just remember that their life sucks dick compared to yours.
Facts.
And it's not even on a huge level either. It's
No.
on a Facebook level of community like that as well. Like, people get tied up because everybody wants that feeling of satisfaction. Whenever somebody goes on vacation with their family and they post all their Facebook pictures of them going on a vacation with their family and how great it was and how wonderful it was, it creates this sense of urgency inside of me and other people like, fuck, I should be on a vacation too.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you think about it like, oh man, their life's so much better than mine. Or they'll be like, oh, fuck them people for going on that big expensive vacation. Like a million things can run through your head and you're like, just take a step back and be like, what the fuck did you just think? How did that happen?
Right.
I always say the people who put their relationships, not to go on a different subject, but the people that put their relationships on social media the most are usually the people that are in the most unhappy relationships because they're looking for that satisfaction.
And it's okay.
Validation.
And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. But I look at it and I'm thinking like what the reaction that I had is what I'm most concerned with or thoughtful about, because if they're putting that picture of them on vacation or them doing something, I'm like, man, that's great. And then, but I had all those things. I'm like, fuck, dude, I didn't take a vacation this year. And I'm like, I should have did that. And I'm like, hold on, dude, everything's good in your life. Right. You're looking at somebody's life and you're like, man, look how perfect that was, how wonderful.
Maybe it's
smiling.
the first vacation they've been on in 10 years.
That's what I mean. Like there's good in that scenario. So rather than me do a little bit of judgment upon them and myself, I should just be like, that's great. I'm very happy for them. I need to take the time to do something like that for my family.
Yes.
I should be doing the same thing, not because I'm trying to compete with them, not because I'm trying to do anything other than make sure that I do the things in my life as well. And the reason that we didn't go on a vacation this year was because we had a baby and we got the gymnastics and COVID and all this. And it's like,
And you got fucking this.
and that's the thing. And it's hard because, being open right now and saying like the vacation thing was big because we didn't go on a vacation as a family. We did a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm not taking away from that, but we also I am very big on like, I live in the moment. Mm-hmm. I really do. I am not always on my phone. Like if we go somewhere, I'm not always on my phone taking a million pictures. Like Hannah and I, we went out to eat on Saturday. We didn't take one picture together. Like we got home.
That means it didn't happen.
Well, that's the crazy thing. You're like, because Hannah and I sat down Sunday morning, no kids. We didn't have the kids for the weekend or for that day. My mom took took my daughters. They slept over my mom's house, my mom and dad's house. Nice. Yeah, and then we had SJ because we just got a babysitter for the night. But that morning, Sunday morning, she's like, we didn't take one picture. I'm like, I still had a really good time.
Yeah.
We live in the moment. So when we do get a picture, like I just could scroll through my phone and we have very select few pictures because we're so busy. We're always doing things, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And the people that do those things, that's great. I'm never taking anything away because I think that it provides happiness in my life as well. When I see people do cool shit, yeah, I want to see it. I enjoy it.
But I think that you made a good point though about like when you see that, there's really kind of like two camps of people. Like there's the people who get fucking jealous when they see that, and then there's the people who get happy for those people.
And both can occur.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I believe that we all have multiple personalities.
Oh yeah. Well, in the masculinity thing, like there's not just masculine people and feminine people.
No.
There's people like I've got feminine traits.
Yeah.
I've got masculine traits.
Yeah.
Everybody has a balance of those. And it's the same fucking thing. It's like sometimes I'll look at somebody crushing it and I'm like, God damn it, why is that not me?
Yeah.
But then you check yourself or whatever. And it's all about the balance between all the different fucking traits that we have.
Within 5 minutes, something that I see on there, and within 5 minutes, there could be 3 different personalities that I have inside of me come through.
Yep.
I could go from jealousy of being like, I need to step my game up. I should be doing that too. Anger, fuck him, to, hey, you're going to have to do more work.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's crazy on how
good for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are things that like, that we all have, like those different, I don't know if they're personalities, I'm just speaking in general terms, but like those things go through my head as well. And people probably say that about me. Whenever they see me, they're like, oh man, everything's going right for you. Everything's so good. I'm like, you're right. Everything is fucking great.
I get a lot of jealousy, it's like a positive jealousy. It's a motivational jealousy I get. Even watching your shit on social media, watching my friends go on vacations when I just opened the gym and I had $0. Like, it's like, I'm jealous of that because I want it and I'm going to work my ass off to get there. So I think jealousy, it used in the right way, it can be a positive thing because, like I said, I see what you're doing, what Andy Frisella is doing. I'm like, I want that. I'm jealous. I don't have it. I'm going to fucking try to get there.
I think the big variable there is entitlement, like feeling as though you're entitled to shit. Because if you're a dickhead who thinks that you're entitled to the world without any work, when you see someone going on vacation, that jealousy becomes very negative.
Yeah.
But if you're not an entitled person and you see that, then it just becomes, I need to work more.
Yeah. And bro, that's why I love America. I love America because it's the only place on the planet that you can legitimately do anything from a good standpoint and become successful.
Absolutely.
Like you can go somewhere and eat a steak and watch tits all night.
Yep.
Like if I can go to a titty bar that serves really good steaks, I'm like, man, that is fucking America. How cool is that?
And despite what the media fucking tells you, you can do that no matter what your skin color, gender, like that's America.
And I have because my dad is a small business owner too. My dad is not that smart. He just is a relentless worker. So he has been able to save millions of dollars to retire on and create opportunity for all of us as his children and the grandkids.
Yeah.
And being that, and I use the same thing. I'm a college educated person, but I don't use my college education in the one thing that I'm most successful at. It's all been through hard work, trial and error, determination, the trial and error part is not only trial and error with my body, but also my money and my relationships and everybody around me. And I think that that's what makes this country so wonderful, because it's the United States of America. Whenever we're united, we stand, and we are one powerful group. And the more divided we are, the weaker we become. And we all see that. So right now, we are the weakest we've ever been. And that means we're vulnerable. That means we're emotional. That means that people are going to be pinned against each other for the most simple, dumb fucking shit. Like, bro, everything we've been talking about on this podcast thus far has been about things that are so fucking fine-lined. It's scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I can't believe that we're having a conversation about whether masculinity is toxic or not.
I said that before.
Why feminism is toxic or not. Like, bro, if you're a couple of dudes and you're gay, okay? You're two gay dudes and you're good people. You work hard, you have good hearts, but you're just gay. You're not straight. You don't like females. You like dudes. Okay, cool. Great. I don't give a flying fuck.
Exactly. Yeah.
But next thing is if they want to adopt a child. And I'm like, bro, listen, I personally don't give a fuck. This is America. Are you a good fucking person?
Yeah. Are you a good human?
So if you're a good person, whenever you raise this child, you're two dudes. And people are like, fucking gays shouldn't be raising kids. Hold the fucking phone, dickhead. We just had a conversation right now between the three of us. You had a pretty rough upbringing with people who had trouble with drugs.
Yeah.
And had just trouble in general with life.
And it was a man and a woman.
And it was a man and a woman. So there you go. That's why I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And I want to see good happen. Now, if you are a person that likes to, I'm not going to peddle. I don't have a lot of them because of my personality. But if I said I don't believe in gay relationships, it's like, well, then that's so closed-minded. It's crazy. Or say like, just anything that's touchy right now in America. And it's like, I don't have those, I don't have that in me. So
it's like, why the fuck does it matter what Chris Tuttle thinks? Why does it matter what Seth, like,
well, I was going to say, even if you did, you wouldn't try to force it on other people.
No, that's what I mean. I don't think that if you're two gay guys raising a child, whether that is a boy or a girl, it's not like those two gay people are going to be like, you're gay.
Right.
Like if they're saying you're gay, and the child's like, I don't fucking think that, I don't know. Like that, then I'm like, that's wrong. That shouldn't occur.
Yeah.
But
in the same way, if it's a
for,
gay kid and it's straight parents saying you're straight.
No, you're not.
Right.
Like my thing is, I just said it on the podcast. I had this, it's fucked up, but I am a little fucked up. And it's just my way of thinking. I have never, other than like when I talk about this, thought about putting a dick in my mouth. Like I don't want to suck a dick.
Can't say I have either.
No, I'm straight.
Brandon?
I like females. I love pussy. I think it's so cool. It's fascinating.
That's what my wife, we listened to your first episode. I was like, what'd you think? She's like, he loves to fuck. Like,
I love it. I think
especially under waterfalls.
Yeah, the waterfall thing. And this goes back to that. Like, I think it's one of my bucket list things. Why? I just love it. One of my things is in life, I personally want to experience fucking under a waterfall. I imagine it being majestic. I imagine it being like just euphoric. It'll probably be really painful and the water's fucking pelting us and it's not going to work and it's going to be a horrible experience, but I'm still fucking under a waterfall. So, but going back to the gay thing, I'm like...
going back to a dick in your mouth.
So, listen, I don't want that. Nope.
For the record.
It's a goal of mine to get through life without one as well.
But now, there is men out there who do enjoy that. Now, as a straight man, if there's another man that says, I like sucking dick, and you're going to look at him and be like, you're gay. And he's like, I know. Right there, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I don't think like that. So you're definitely different. Like, no dude I know that's straight is like, maybe I should. No, it's a trait that person has. Yeah. They feel strongly about it. And most guys guys that aren't gay, that are straight, are like, fucking, I love pussy. So when a guy says that, I'm like, they're different. They're just wired differently. Something's different. And it's fine. I don't care.
Right.
Like, I hope you're pleasuring him. And I hope he pleasures you.
Exactly.
Cool. Like, good. Get a good fucking in. You guys have a nice meal. Have some nice sex. I don't know. Get coffee in the morning.
Like, I hope that brings you the joy that pussy brings me.
So all the things that I like to do, you probably like to do too.
Exactly.
Just with another dude.
Just with a dick.
Yeah. It's cool.
But it's a good point, man, because it's live and let live. Like, do whatever you fucking want to do. Just don't force it on me or anyone else.
No.
And I won't do the same. I won't force anything on you.
And that's wild, because then it's polarizing those people in those categories.
Yeah.
And that small percentage, we're polarizing them. And then again, just like there's bad males, females, blacks, whites, gays, Asians, there's bad people, and they exist in every single aspect. And whenever they're polarized, we start to generalize. We start to just stereotype.
Yep.
And that's where this becomes an issue, because if you're stereotyping a small population, and like you're stereotyping, or how do I want to say this? You are using that small percentage as your as like the polarization,
The representation of the rest of the group.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that becomes super fucking dangerous.
Big problem. Yeah.
That's super dangerous. And that's what's occurring now, because I mean, my dad, I said this on my podcast as well. Like, whenever I learned about, like, you know, as a kid, you don't know many gays. Like,
Right.
They don't just, it's not like everybody announces, hello, I'm gay. And you're like, you know, no. But my dad did a kitchen. He went to it was a very nice neighborhood. This was years ago. This is probably, 25 years ago, maybe. Something like that. So we went, and he was selling this kitchen. It was two gay dudes, and they were super successful, big money. And at the time, they couldn't get married either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was selling them this kitchen, measured it, fucking banging kitchen. And he tells them everything, going to do great. And he's like, this is, it's a pricey kitchen, this and that. And they're like, we don't care. This is great. And then they were finally like, so you don't care? He's like, what do you mean?
Care about what?
And they're like, so you don't care that we're gay? And he's like, you have green fucking money, right? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
he's like,
And
they were like, and then long and short of it was, they were like, it's so nice that you're here doing this for us, because there's been contractors that said no because we're gay.
That's fucked.
And my dad's like, I don't give a flying fuck.
Well,
I just want your money.
The thing with
just
that,
like any other person.
Yeah, and the thing with that you want people to understand, and because a lot of people who are on the more progressive side and saying things like capitalism is evil and all of this, like, it's not a good business strategy to be a fucking bigot, right? Like, those contractors that wouldn't do the kitchen for the gay guys, they lost, right? And because your dad's not a bigot and their money is green, just like
Jordan's
anyone
quote?
else's, he fucking wins.
What's Jordan's famous quote there?
Republicans buy sneakers too.
That's it.
But
like
that's why, like, to me, capitalism makes so much sense, because it's like, if you're the best, you win. Right? Like, it doesn't make sense for you to not sell shit to somebody based off of immutable characteristics like being gay or black or whatever. And that, for whatever reason, people don't understand that. It's like, fuck, man, when I owned bars, if I didn't serve beer to gay people, I would have made less money.
You probably would have, and I wouldn't want to fuck with somebody who's so judgmental of dumb shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's wild. And that's why I'm like, man, we are living in such a identity politics, polarization world.
Right.
Like, this is fucking crazy. This is because we're talking about things that I thought were just simple things
shit that you didn't think we even needed to talk about at
because
one point.
Whenever I was telling you guys, like, our big thing is we're the community here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everywhere that we go, we make sure that we take care of those people, and they know that we care about them. Through the pandemic, with just making sure we're buying food from their restaurant on a regular basis in larger numbers. So, because nobody wants a fucking handout. Fuck you. Nobody wants a handout. I don't want a handout. I want you to provide a service that I need, and it's very good.
I want an opportunity.
So, like, and that's why, like, within the community, and when you go out into our community, it's full of people. It's diverse. Everybody's out there. And in your community, it's kind of like, I just want to see great things occur. Whenever I see someone close up shop, their doors close and lock and get boarded up, I'm like, God damn.
Yeah.
Fuck me. And it's just, but those things occur, and that's how this works. And it's rough to see right now, but in the community, like, it's a melting pot. Like, I don't see why people have so many issues with everybody. And vice versa, why somebody would have an issue with me about who I am as a person. And like, then it comes back to the toxic masculinity, just looking at the what I look like.
Right.
And then I'm like, man, like stereotyping is bad. Meanwhile, I've known that my entire life. That's why I never did it.
But then you feel it and you're like, fuck.
But then I look and I'm like, it's also like the stereotyping of life. I make fun of my own personal stereotypes. Like that's part of the thing on the podcast that I do that I'm like, yeah, dude, I was like, I'm short, fat, wide-waisted white guy. You know, it's like I'm not hiding it. I look like a fucking troll. The internet let me know I look like a troll. I have a big fucking nose, tiny ears, beard. They look like I should have been fucking Lord of the Rings. I'm like, thanks, guys. Really excited about it.
Right.
I look at him like maybe I should have been in Lord of the fucking Rings. I'd have been a movie star, made millions of dollars that way. But like, I'm cool with it because you know what? I enjoy my life and I don't take myself too serious. I think because of my upbringing with my old man and growing up in a wood shop. Every day in the wood shop, I'd come in Monday. I'm 16 years old in the summertime, and they're like, Seth, get any pussy? And I'm like, yeah, I definitely got a ton of pussy. Yeah. They're like, okay, kid. And I'm like, at the time, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. It's like 40-year-old version where he's like, you know, when you feel a boob and it feels like sand. It's like,
and like then the guys are telling me, they're like, hey, before you slip it in, before you slide your dick in, or make sure you spit on it. And I'm like, what? What the fuck did you just say? I spit on it? I'm 15 years old. I'm like, I just want to see one for Christ's sakes. The fuck?
I'm so scared right now.
So like, I grew up in that environment. That's why I am the way I am. Like, I'm 16 years old working fucking 50 hours a week in a wood shop with grown fucking men. And that's my life. On Fridays, we're cracking beers at 4:00 in the afternoon on a Friday because like we all just worked and I just worked 50 fucking hours.
Yep.
So like, that's my demeanor is that of the blue collar-esque because it's all I did growing up. It was rough. I'm with quote unquote uneducated men that didn't go to college, but can build your kitchen, remodel your house with little thinking because that's their trade. That's what they're specialized at.
Dude, this country was built by those uneducated men.
And that's why, again, dude, some of these people couldn't spell the. You know what I mean? Like dudes, like they can't pronounce words. Like I have trouble pronouncing words. They couldn't spell. They have trouble reading a fucking paragraph or a book or anything like it, but they can rip an engine apart, put it back together. They can build a fucking home.
That's that judgment thing too when it comes to like people going to college and getting degrees. Some of the smartest dudes I know didn't go to college at all, went to trade school. Like those are the dudes you're going to call when you really need help.
So and that I say that often. And but again, that's another part that had huge impact on me was growing up in that environment. And then people
with all that toxic masculinity in the wood shop,
bro, it was rough. But you
learn shit at an early age.
So, and then the reason that I have All American Roughneck is my apparel brand. I created this company because I was actually I was as a safety professional. I was OSHA, EPA, DOT regulations, all that shit. Have a degree from IUP in that. I was a consultant. So I was driving roughly, the 1 year I drove 62,000 miles in 1 year. So I was living in the truck. I was in oil and gas. I was in manufacturing. I was in construction. I was visiting all these different sites with hard motherfuckers. Oil and gas dudes are rough fucks.
Yeah, they're roughnecks.
They are true fucking rough dudes. Yeah. The whole roughneck term came from traveling labor. That's where one of the originations from it was because they were rowdy, uncouth fucks.
Yep.
Rowdy dudes that just traveled, drank, fucked shit up, but all went to work no matter what the next day. So that's where the All-American Roughneck came from because I was working for a consulting firm where I traveled to all these different job sites with all these different dudes. 98% was male because it's hard labor. They all were rowdy, rough, intense people, but when you get to know them, they were dudes that were working hard for their family.
For their families.
This dude that's 50 years old, right over here, that is busting his ass 60 hours a week every Saturday, doing the overtime, 70 hours a week. The cocksucker from the fucking rig, working 100 hours a week, nonstop. They have daughters getting ready to go to college.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you mean this dude right here is a softie for his daughter? Oh yeah, dude, don't fuck with him about that. It's a big thing. So that's when I learned so much more that I'm around all these dudes. And for the most part, they were solid motherfuckers that had families. They're covered in mud. They look like shit. They're sitting on the ground in the corner eating lunch on a cold concrete floor, or they're out in the fucking beating sun all day long, and they have families at home that need them to work like that.
Yeah.
And this is a rough environment. Bro, swing a sledgehammer for 8 hours a day, all week long. You're going to remember that fucking sledgehammer. You're going to know that the money that you made from swinging that sledgehammer is of serious value. You work like that in those environments, you gain a whole lot more respect for money. You gain a whole lot more respect for labor. And that's the part that's missing today, because I knew that from growing up, but when I saw it on such a massive level, bro, I was going to hundreds of job sites and it was everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And dude, that's, and I think you touched on this a little bit in the podcast where you guys talked about toxic masculinity some, is like, that's probably the most fucked up part, is all of those guys, all of these people who live this lifestyle and really fucking are the bedrock of the American lifestyle, right? They're now getting told you're toxic masculinity. You're they're getting alienated and told that they're not worth a damn by these elite fucks who wouldn't know how to swing a sledgehammer and don't even know how their fucking driveway got poured or their foundation exists in their house or their fucking wiring and they don't appreciate it, and they go so like overlooked by these people. And I think that's one of the biggest travesties of all of this shit, is you're going to tell them that they're like a bane on society now.
They're bad for America.
And it's like, no, man.
Whenever it was termed that they're uneducated is whenever I was like, man, like uneducated.
Like, define that shit.
Like, it's wild because,
yeah,
like, bro, if your toilet don't flush,
good luck.
Who you calling?
Well, right. Nowadays, too, when you go to college and get an education, college is a fucking 4-year. Gary Vee talks about it all the time. College is a 4-year vacation. It's 4-year to fuck off,
dude.
Go into debt, party.
Some of
really
the dumbest
not
people I know went
focus
to
too
college.
much on what you're there for, and then you come out, and then half the people go into doing those things. They go back to school for it. So you're gonna say you're uneducated in what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It doesn't make sense, especially like I said, the smartest people I know didn't fucking go to college.
That's why it all rolls back to like, why do you think the way you do? Why do people think the way they do? What happens up here to attract you? What happens to doing all these things? And it melts my mind some days because I'm like, fuck, this is crazy that this is actually occurring.
Yeah.
Because like I worked in my dad's wood shop, saw that, and whenever I saw it on a massive level, I was like, I know that my thought process, because whenever people relate to us, like why we sell so many fucking t-shirts and hats, we sell fucking tons. It blows my mind.
Thanks, Aunt.
Yeah. Fucking A, brother. But it's because of whenever we're designing things, whenever we're talking about it, that's who
you have in mind.
That's who we have in mind, because those people, there is a mass number of them who take pride in their work, who whenever they leave, like, bro, the big thing that if you construction memes, like if there's a dad, if you're riding in your car somewhere with your dad and he's a tradesman, and like you ride by the building, he's gonna be like, I built that, I was inside, I did the drywall in that place.
Hell yeah.
And it's like a joke, and you're like, yeah, my dad did this and that, and it's like, no,
he really
motherfucker really did.
He really fucking did.
He built that like that. And other people that had impacts on my life in the same regard, like I talk about Jeff Galia, call him JG. JG is one
fort building motherfucker.
Dude, he's not a sharp. He's not very sharp, but his whole thing in life, people told him he'd never amount to anything because he's too fucking stupid. And then he plays on it, and he's like, yeah, dude, he's like, I can't read too well, but you go shoot distance with him, bro, he's going to know everything about shooting distance with a rifle. It's insane. I'm like, Jeff.
It seems that everyone that's at the top like that has that similar, that people doubted them through it or told them that they weren't smart enough or whatever.
And the thing with him, he was like, he had a rough upbringing, and he always said, like, you know, a lot of people, you're searching for that person to emulate. You're searching for that father figure. You're searching for that mother figure. You're searching for that person that you're like, why is everybody such a piece of shit? Why is my dad such a piece of shit? Why is this? Why is that? Where Jeff got a piece of advice and it rubbed off on me because I never heard it.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, bro, if no matter who you meet, there is good to pull from it. There's good to pull from who you meet every time, because if you meet somebody like your quote unquote piece of shit father or stepfather or whatever, you got one good thing from them. What not to be.
What not to be. Yeah.
And then on top of that, like whenever you meet somebody that you're like, man, like that dude was that speech he had blew my mind, but I heard he's kind of a prick. Well, pull the speech.
Right.
Don't pull his personality.
Right.
Pull what came out of him.
What better example than our president, right? Like people can't see any of the good things, right? They're so caught up in everything else. It's like, man, if you go through life that way, good fucking luck.
So whenever I heard that from him and he was speaking like that, I'm like, here's Jeff, who's been notorious for not being the sharpest tool in the shed, owns his own fucking fence business, is doing incredibly well for him, built his own fucking home from scratch like a bad motherfucker who does very well financially, is giving me this life advice that I've never heard from all of the educated, intelligent people I've met throughout my entire life. I'm like, I'll never forget this. And now that I have this platform to speak on, I'm going to use it.
Right.
And I'm going to say it because that changed how I looked at a lot of situations, because not everything is shit. There's going to be times when you're like, that's it. I like that. And you pull it and live it.
Well, that was a big thing for COVID. You know, we were actually on a podcast last week and they asked us, what'd you learn, during this time? And a big thing for me was I learned, and I talked to a couple other people about it, being able to pull good from negative situations. Because there is always, you're completely right, there's always something good that you can pull. And if you're able to do that, you're never going to have a bad experience.
Yep.
You're always going to be able to move forward. And I think using the platform to be able to talk to people about that is something that I look up to in a lot of ways, because I think there's not a lot of people that can do that. The majority of the people cannot.
It takes a lot of self-reflection as well.
Yeah.
Because that means you have to look at yourself. And whenever, dude, whenever you're disciplining your kid or going through that, or you end up having to you fuck up and you fucked up. You fucked up.
I always say that the first step of anything is being able to self-reflect. Ann and I were talking about it yesterday. And if you can't, my life changed when I finally was like, I'm a man. Let me look in the mirror and see what I did wrong first. Everything, you open up a whole new reality.
You do.
When you can actually do that. And realize that I'm not being a good enough husband. I'm not being a good enough boss. I'm not being a good enough trainer, whatever.
I'll say something pretty revealing right now. Whenever I have these moments like that, I fuck up and I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, because I force myself to. A person gave me advice to do that as well, talk to myself. And I'm like, okay, you can't change what occurred, but you have to become better. I have the conversation. But other times in life, whenever I really start thinking, or my mind runs on how to become a better person, I'm usually fucked up. I'm usually I might smoke some weed, might be a little tuned up. Happened years ago whenever I would do acid or mushrooms or do some cocaine, my mind would go to a different spot. And it would kind of I'm I am fucked up right now, but I'm thinking in a whole different concept.
That's why I'd never smoke weed anymore, because I always do that, and I'm like,
yeah, but I think it's good for you sometimes.
So that's what I mean. I don't do hard drugs anymore. I don't fucking eat acid and fucking snort blow and do all that shit. I smoke weed every now and then, but whenever I would do them when I was younger, it would expand my mind to a point that I'm like, whoa, I'm thinking about these things that I've never thought about.
Right.
And they're relevant things to talk about, but I am fucked up right now.
Yeah.
I should not be speaking, but I want to, and I'm thinking all these different things. And it blew my mind, because now I look back at it and I'm like, what happens if I ate acid now, or ate a bunch of mushrooms now, and where would my mind go? And I'm like, that might be a fucking bad spot to do.
You want to know what's the funniest shit about that? One of the people that I look up to the most influential coaches in my life, he said, you want to learn something about yourself? He says, lock yourself in a room for 24 hours with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a notepad.
Yeah.
He's you'll start thinking some shit and write it down. You're going to wake up the next day after your blackout and be like,
oh, I don't even fucking know who that was.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It goes back to why I'm fascinated with the human mind. Because I'm I remember doing that. I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? I had some wild experiences on mushrooms, and I'm like, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
Because it expanded that. But then at the same time, how many bad things could have occurred, and I never condone use of heavy drugs or things, but at the same time,
we do not
I'm like,
support the use of heavy drugs.
Did you fit those in your macros back then? The mushrooms when you...
Bro, I was a wild motherfucker in college.
One thing I wanted to touch on before we get too far away from it, because it made me think when you were talking about owning up to your shit and looking in the mirror, I forget who said, it might have been Andy, but it's always stuck with me. Somebody said one of the most powerful things you can ever learn to say is, it's my fault.
Yes.
Once you do that, it opens up your world, because now that you've acknowledged that, I think they actually said everything is my fault. Like, my life is my fault. Everything that fucking happens in my life is my fault, right? Once you do that, it's empowering because you realize that you're in the driver's seat, right?
Yes.
Like, now I know everything's my fucking fault. What am I going to do about it, right? And I think if a lot of people would just say that, like, who am I to give fucking life advice? But I'm just, like, for me, it's been great to just that simple thing. Just say, it's my fucking fault.
Yep.
And now it's all on me to fix it.
So I'll equate this right back to gymnastics because, again, doing it again. Adeline.
Dude, gymnastics is fucking
It's
learn about life.
In sports, you do.
Yeah.
In all of it. And, bro, I fucked up. I fucked over my coach who had my back like a big brother, Hani Rambod. Whenever I fucked up, I threw him under the bus. And it was because I never lost before. I didn't know how to experience loss, and I didn't know what to do because I just won all the time.
And it was his fault, not yours,
And
right?
it was all his fault. Yep. And I started tweaking verbiage and I was like, he's against me. And it was because, like, my home life at the time was in a very bad spot. My mind was in a bad spot, and I'd never lost before. So all those things compounded on me. And then I look back and I'm like, maybe if I just would have kept my shit together and understood that you lose sometimes, you could grow and do better. So, but with gymnastics, like with Adeline, like I teaching her about determination and drive and becoming more and more successful. And my big thing was, whatever occurs at this meet is your fucking fault.
You. Yep.
It's because of you. You win and take first place. You did that. You lose, fall off the beam, fall off the bars, miss vault. You did that. Don't blame the equipment. Don't blame anybody. It was you.
Yep.
It could have been just a bad day. It could have been lack of training. But what are you going to do tomorrow?
Exactly.
You won. You won the meet. You were first fucking place. You won every event and the all around. What are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to go to practice. Okay. What are you going to do tomorrow if you lose every event and the all around? I'm going to go to practice.
Going to go to practice.
Because you have more work to do.
Yeah.
It never stops. It's all about pushing yourself to limits that you didn't even know were possible.
Yeah.
So with her, I use that because that's a way of pushing her, because she usually does place high. And when she does place low, she beats herself up. And I'm like, good. Like, yeah. Like, but you're always going to do the work. Like, if I make $1 million today, does that mean that, like, I stop making money? Do I stop everything?
Come back tomorrow?
Nope, I'm coming back tomorrow to make 2.
Exactly.
Because those are things that those are instilled inside of you. Like, what are you going to do? Just give up or stop?
Perfect example, right? Elon Musk just announced, surpassed Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world.
Yeah.
The meme went around of his tweet, and he was like, he said something like, that's cool. And then the next tweet was like, all right, back to work. Like,
what do you... And people expect something great to happen. Like, when you win, fuck yeah, you fly high. But what, you're going to compete again.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit's internal too. Like, you can't fake that, because there's a lot of people that, they go through and you're brought up and you're working these businesses and you sell it or whatever. And if it's not internally in you, those are the people you're going to see. When they get bought out, you're never going to hear from them again. But it's fucking Tom Brady. Let's go back to the GOAT. Dude should have fucking retired. He won 6 rings. Why is he in Tampa Bay about to win a 7th? And if he wins this year, he's going to go back and do it again.
He might.
There's something fucking internal in people that might be nature and nurture.
Yeah,
that's why
it's the fucking human mind.
Bro, that's why I'm so fascinated with people. I'm fucking blown away by it, because look at all the great, incredible things that are happening, and also, look at all these crazy, fucked up concepts that are occurring. I'm like, man. This is insane, because it seemed like life used to be simpler, but that doesn't mean that it was better. Like, things today can still get better if we can work together to do.
I fully believe
things.
It's still the best fucking time to be alive. Period.
It's incredible.
There's more opportunity now than ever before. You can start a business on the internet today. Start monetizing, selling some fucking product today, make something of yourself today. Like, There's never been any fucking time like that. And if you're sitting at home right now listening to this shit, ask yourself if you're making excuses for why you're not successful in the most prosperous time in the history of the fucking world. Because if you're making excuses right now, what are you going to do next year? You gotta stop and just say that it's me. Like, I'm the fucking problem, and there's a ton of people crushing it right now. Seth's fucking crushing it. Tut's crushing it. Everybody in this room is crushing it and doing their own thing. And it's like, you can't keep making excuses for why you're not, especially when there's somebody that's had it worse than you that's done a whole hell of a lot more than you in the current conditions.
Opportunity
Yeah.
is always there.
Always.
Always there.
And you even said this industry is very saturated. There's enough room for everyone.
Listen,
if you just put the fucking work in and do the right shit.
I look up to a few people in this industry. Andy and Sal are two of them that I look up to just because of their demeanor. They're some of the most successful in our industry. Both of those motherfuckers reach out whenever we started, and we all started learning who each other were. Bro, they were more than willing to help. They said, anything you need, give me a call. And I'm like, I really appreciate that, but I'm going to work and learn. Why? Because I have to fuck up.
Yep.
I'm watching you guys do it. I'm watching it get done. Well, that means that I have to try and do it. I'm going to fuck up, and then I'm going to fix the fuck up, and then I'm going to continue to progress forward. Just like they did, just like every successful person does. Watch it done once, fuck it up once, fix it once, now I know how to do it.
Yep.
It's kind of how it goes. And like with them, I was like, I'm going to do this. And now, like years later, it's kind of like, it's great because they still have the same support.
Yeah.
We're in the same industry selling the same fucking things. Sell the same things. And they're still cool and encouraging and want good things to happen. I'm like, man, you guys are fucking bad dudes. And it sets an example for how things should get done, because whenever you look at them, you're like, you want me to succeed. Like you genuinely want to see me succeed. That right there should be inspiring, but also it should be inspiring to me to say, I want to see other people succeed. And it holds me to a fucking super high standard where they don't come and beat me.
Fuck yeah, I got that question a shit ton when we were coming out here. It was like, well, you guys have apparel. You're working on a supplement line. He's going to get on a
Why is he giving you the time of the day?
Right? And I'm like, because he's a fucking good dude, wants everyone to succeed, and there's room for everyone and people. And like you said earlier, guess what? We still have to do the fucking work, right?
If the people that, like you said it, nobody, like punching down is not a thing. The people that punch down, they're the ones that typically are nervous or know that they don't have the shit.
Right.
They know they have flaws and they're not okay with themselves. Like, bro, we are fucking killing it. Our companies are growing to a point that I'm like, holy fuck. So in that regard, people in the industry that are on the back end of everything know we're coming. The big companies know we're coming, and it's great and it's inspiring. But those people are like, bring it the fuck on.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, this is so much. It brings back to that competitive nature.
I just got fucking goosebumps.
I love it. And I never knew what I was going to do after I stopped competing in bodybuilding. Now in business, I'm like, I have a tremendously successful company and companies. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking coming. And to see them be encouraging, I'm like, this is so cool.
Well,
this is great now. And then people that are behind me that are doing things in their own regard, I'm like, motherfucker, you better step your motherfucking game up. And they're like, I want your ass. And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Well, it's like you mentioned Gary Vee earlier, and he summarizes that whole fucking deal perfectly. He's He's like, there's two ways to have the biggest building in town, right? Build that fucker, or tear the rest of them down, right?
Yep.
And that's exactly what you guys in the industry, like you, the Frisellas, the guys who are doing it right, you're just focused on building your fucking building. And you're not worried about the other buildings because you know that you're doing your shit the way you need to do it. And you don't even, you're like, fine, I'll tell you how I built my building, but it's going to take a lot of fucking work for you too, so good luck.
And it goes back to like, why don't you just want cool shit?
Right.
Like, I just want cool shit. Like Andy, like, bro, whenever he shows where he was like in 2009, I'm like, man, now the dude's got like 30 fucking sports cars. And he's like, fuck yeah, I love my sports cars. And I'm like, oh, like, but why? And he's like, because I fucking like them.
They make me happy.
And I'm like, you deserve them. You're right. And it goes back to everybody has something. And for him, it was that. And for anybody, it could be what it is. Like Bob loves cars. He has like fucking 6 or 7 now.
For you, it's what, gymnastics?
I don't know what. Here's the gig, dude. This is the part where I need to learn to live. I have more things than I dreamt of. I have more things in my life than I could have ever dreamed of. Like, bro, I live in a very mediocre house. Okay, I live in a home that is very, very small in comparison. Like, I mean, super small into the comparison of what I make.
Sure.
And it's like, but I don't want anything more because I like my home. It's a home.
Yeah.
It's where the kids are. It's where we raise our family. And I was never into cars when I was young because I didn't know anything about them, because I was like, when the fuck am I ever going to have a sports car? When the fuck am I ever going to have a Lambo? Well, right now I look and I'm like, well, like I could go buy anything I want. And it puts me in a position, I'm like, that's why I said earlier, like I have to live.
Learn to live, yeah.
Because I have to do things that I never even dreamt of. Like I love fucking business. I fucking love it because it's the most challenging, intense thing I've ever done. And along with it comes financial freedom, something that every person wants in their life. And then I love vacations. I would have no problem spending 20 G's on a vacation, by the way. I will fucking do that. But when am I going?
Right.
I have 3 fucking kids, 6 different businesses. I don't make the time because I'm so engulfed and love this so much. And I'm like, I will always find a reason not to. That's a very bad quality I have because that means that the kids, Hannah, they'll take a back seat at certain times because of my passion for this.
Everyone, it seems like, and everyone like yourself and Andy, it's as soon as you get to the point where you have financial freedom, all of your freedom becomes less because you just reinvest into doing the next fucking thing and then you're working more. And it's like, it's just a cyclical cycle of just putting it back in and doing more and building the next and on to the next. Like you could just, relax right now, go on a couple of vacations a year. You're like,
but
no,
my thing is I don't know how. So that's why the only out I ever had was the gym, and now I have a gym and it's cool and it's good and everything. But then I'm like I never had money like I do to spend, so that's where the living thing has to occur. Like we're planning a nice vacation with the kids, and then Hannah and I alone, like 2 vacations. I'm like, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
And that's where the value of time became so important to me. But I still I'm probably gonna buy a dumb vehicle. I don't know how to drive a fast car. I don't know how to do those things, but I'm like, yeah, I should.
A couple new chainsaws.
Bro, that's what I mean. Like I can go buy a chainsaw and it doesn't hurt my bank account at all. I'm like, I just got the coolest chainsaw on the market.
So now what, right?
And it's tough because I don't know what to do with those things. And everybody listening or anybody could say, oh, geez, what a fucking problem. But it's those things that in my head, I'm like, because I continually have to level up. So I have to have new dreams because if you don't have dreams and aspirations, you'll just fall flat.
Yeah.
Everything will become like a glass lake, and I want waves. I like that.
Yep.
I enjoy the roller coaster of life. I don't want to be on the fucking merry-go-round. I want to go up. I want to go down. I want to fly the fuck up. I want to do wild shit. I live on that because if I don't have those things, I will find trouble.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that's part of where I am now is just living. I got to learn to live and do different things that I've never done and experience things. And
that was a question of mine that I actually wanted to ask you coming into it. Starting this, doing all of this, and raising a family, was it challenging, or is it still figuring out the work-life balance, or do you try to get them involved in everything that you're doing at work?
There is no work-life balance in my life. There is zero. It is nonstop, foot to the fucking pedal, to the ground all the time. We have these companies here who are growing astronomically. We have 3 kids. They're always there. We have the gymnastics, which is nonstop. Hannah runs gymnastics. So Hannah owns her own business. She's 25 years old. She takes care of 3 children, have a newborn, and it's nonstop. So the work-life balance really doesn't exist. It's just life.
Yep.
I don't have work-life balance. My kids are either over there, they're either at home, over there, or over here. They're in my office. I watch SJ some nights at 5 o'clock whenever she shows up, or 3:30. He's over here with me. And we might be here till 7. He's in the gym with me training. He might be in his playpen. There is no balance really to my life. It's just nonstop. And guess what? The work-life balance that people try and find, I don't know if I want to say it's bullshit or if I want to say it's wrong, but it's life. I enjoy my life. If I look at me working so much as a negative, guess who's going to look at it as a negative? Them 3 kids.
Yep.
If I make sure that they know that work is a positive thing, they're going to look and be like, fuck yeah, work. Adeline, you're doing so well in school because you're working hard. You're doing so well at gymnastics because you're working hard. I'm doing so well in life because I'm working hard. It's just simple things that I think go so far in that work-life balance. I think about it a lot, and I'm like, I don't have it.
Well, I've always felt
exist.
work-life balance is this mythical thing we fucking talk about that we're all chasing it, but it doesn't exist.
It's
You do more of one and more of the other at times.
You're sacrificing somewhere, but I think the way you said it, and they're here with me, they're in the gym with me, we have gymnastics. Two people that I listen to a lot, Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, they did a podcast together, and they talked about when you're your own boss, you can build your business around your family. They're there every day. He's like, they're in fucking closing meetings with me. They're on the fucking jet when I'm going to a meeting. Like,
Yeah.
That's how I built it. And I'm like, that's what I fucking love. So when you say that,
like those two guys are phenomenal. I don't follow them very intently, but I listen to some Grant Cardone stuff. But it's really and the thing is that's my life. It's because I don't have a job. This is my life.
Right.
Like this is all I do. It's my life. It's not a job. And people that have a job, yes, that's your job. And you have to find some balance because I don't want to see anybody tied down to a job that they don't like. I want to see them live their passion, because if you live your passion, you're not going to work. In the balance, it's who you are. It becomes life.
Yeah.
And
It's
if you
like-
work for, dude, I want to be the best boss I can be. Am I hard on my employees? To a certain extent of saying I just have high standards. But if they need something, like, come to me.
Yeah.
And like if you guys need something or anything, it's like we're always there, because if you're not happy, like if you work for me and you're not happy, like then you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
I can't have you sucking any days. Like you can't even be shit for an hour. I need you to be the best you can be, because we run lean. So I don't want problems. I don't want issues. I want you fucking killing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like I'll go into the gym, my gym, and Ashley, my wife, will come over with the baby, and she'll just be standing in her little bouncy thing with me in the back while I'm on my computer, so Ashley can work out, and then we can bring her back and forth, because it's kind of like built into life now at this point, because like you said, it's really not a job.
I think if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner and you're trying to achieve work-life balance, you maybe think about that a little more closely and consider just getting a job.
Yeah, and there's
Maybe you'll be happier, and that's okay.
and there's that's what I mean, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It takes everybody for this fucking world to turn.
Exactly.
Guys
that want dicks in their mouths, people who want to work jobs.
Yeah.
We need everybody.
And that's the thing it's so crazy. Like I speak like that, in these fucked up, crazy terms, but in the end of the day, that's really what it is.
It's true.
It's the fucking truth.
Yeah.
And no
It's
matter
true.
the type of person that you are, like you can do great things. You are, like I said earlier, I was like, you aren't special the way you are. You're not, because you have to work to become who you want to become.
Yeah, but you can pull that out of you.
You got to pull it out. Like
Each of us has something we can fucking pull out of
So
ourselves.
you were put on this earth. You're able-bodied. You're healthy. You can do something so phenomenal that it'll blow you away. That's kind of where I am right now in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I said I have to have new dreams and live a little bit, because, like, if I'm capable of doing something incredible, fucking anybody is.
Right.
I strongly believe that, because I'm just some podunk, simple motherfucker from Western PA.
Well, look, and I think that's like a core part of our message, and it's like what I would tell young people today, because I always think about young men doing this, because that's who I can fucking relate to. That's who I was. I was a young man with a lot of fucking problems. And what I would say to you is, listen to Seth's story. Look at us right now. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be sitting at a table with Seth Feroce talking about life on a podcast. And if you just put your fucking head down and just keep doing what you love and doing what you're passionate about and working hard towards it, and whether that's being a bricklayer or a burger flipper or a fucking supplement manufacturer, like, be the best you can be, and the shit will work out. And I think that you're a perfect example of that, man. And that's why we wanted to have you on as our first guest, because a lot of us look up to you. And, I think we've been jamming for a while now, and my bladder's about to explode. I don't know about you guys.
I'm there.
Bad.
But, just to wrap this thing up, kind of last thing, what if you could give one piece of advice to young men today? If you could talk to the young Seth Feroce, what would you tell him?
So I say this every now and then. I heard pay attention. Pay attention in life. Pay attention to yourself and pay attention to your surroundings. If you pay attention to yourself and what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and having real conversations with yourself in the mirror, you'll learn about yourself. Because if you're a young person trying to learn, just live. Pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to when you meet somebody. How does that person perceive you? How did you perceive that person? you pay attention to every little aspect of life, you will start pulling things from it. If you go into a room and you don't acknowledge everybody in the room, why didn't you do that? You should pay attention. See everybody in the room. See who's in the corner. See who's in front of you. See who greeted you. How did you handle the situation? Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to the people around you. Whenever I got that piece of advice and I just paid attention, like I learned a lot about personalities. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot about people. And if you have people skills, you can go way further in life than you think. If you just pay attention, you will go so fucking far, it will blow your mind. Because whenever you meet somebody the first time, you get a first impression fucking immediately. How somebody shakes your hands, how somebody smiles at you, the eye contact that they make. That, you pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Because you'll see whether you liked it or you didn't like it. And then you can reflect on it later. So whenever your big thing for me was just whenever I got that, I was terrified of public speaking. So they were just like, just pay attention, see how people perceive you, check your mannerisms, how are you acting? And like the self-reflection came along with that. But if you are a young man and you do not know what the fuck you are doing, pay attention. Pay attention to yourself, pay attention to your surroundings, and live. Go try something. If somebody says, hey, I'm going to split wood all weekend, you want to come give me a hand? Go do it. Even if you don't fucking like splitting wood, but if you like that person, go experience it with them. If that person's saying that they wanted to go to some type of event, even though those don't occur right now, and you like the person but not really into the event, go experience it. You don't know about life unless you experience it. And if you're a young man, you're going to have to experience things. And as you're doing these things, pay attention. Because you'll find out whether you like it or you don't. And there's no wrong thing. If you don't like it, there you go. If you do like it, experience more. Do everything from a good standpoint. Because you'll go so far, it's incredible.
Perfect. Seth Feroce, thank you so much for your time, brother. We are very grateful for you having us, and hopefully people can pull some little bits of knowledge out of this. I think they will. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
No, but for me, I appreciate you coming on with us. You're someone I know for us, and coming up, you lead the way in the industry for us, and kind of showing the right way to build a company, being true, being who the fuck you are, and not hiding behind anything because of the current society. So, with what we've been doing and looking up to you for a while, I appreciate you taking the time to have us on and fucking crush a lift too.
Boom.
Fuck yeah. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Whoa.